to get over the line.
And this is the reason why all of these players are together as well. If they're not booking a ticket to Worlds, they may not necessarily have to do it right here, but this is the reason this team was put together, and this is their opportunity. If they can't do it now, how are they supposed to win in the future against SKT? But let's get into Champion Select. SKT, there are so many questions, Papa Smithy. You were talking to me about the options all of these teams have. The first ban is a pretty obvious one of the Thresh away from Mata, but now what does KT do on the red side?
I mean, it's very interesting how you approach this series. I always love doing theoretical pick bans when it is two teams like this in a big match. I definitely had Thresh as a blue side ban. Galio's another one I'm considering, but this is not one I saw coming. I was actually talking to you, Atlas, about KT's need to ban the Elise on red side just because Peanut, in the recent run, has been playing almost exclusively Elise. What I did tell to you is that it felt for sure we would see some of the overpowered or at least premium meta picks available, and with an Alistar ban to counter Wolf's recent melee support choice of the Alistar, we're getting spicy already, Atlas.
It's super spicy, and what is it going to be? Is it going to be Kalista? Is it going to be the Zac taken away here by KT? What are the options that they choose to remove? Do they leave open a smorgasbord? Do they just ban Aatrox and say, go to town, SKT? No, it is going to be the Zac. Respect for Peanut.
You could have seen Zac being open, because it is Peanut, and Peanut is known...
This was part of our previous discussion.
He's known about his skirmishing junglers. I thought SKT would continue to put an extreme premium on Elise to allow him to win every invasion war. But they move away from that. Kalista first pick, that makes sense. Where KT goes with their draft is unknown. We've seen so many picks from Score. He's played Skarner as recently as the past 2 weeks. The Maokai is a flex pick. Smeb and Score have already played this season. And this is where things already... The script gets flipped a little bit because the Varus priority that sure has definitely been there in previous weeks, instead of the Xayah that he hasn't been performing on in the matchup we see a lot, or the Tristana does super well against the Kalista. We see the Varus, and just to continue the point, Cassiopeia, double solo lane blind pick potential here, and the Cho'Gath that Huni has been spamming in solo queue. Played 21 games of Cho'Gath in the past week. One of his favorite picks. Just to continue the point, Cassiopeia,
so
double solo lane.
Blonde doesn't get to just freely pick champions like the Corki that he has been very, very good on. Of course, in their 25-minute victory against SKT last time around, it was also on the Corki, and I believe pre-buff as well. KT, that a lock-in of the Zyra, Varus Zyra already taken away, could be associated with a potential example of some of the mistakes that SKT made on the last patch.
The way you approach this lane is very interesting because it's a winning lane matchup. Varus Zyra is very powerful in lane, and they're trying to curb the Kalista, hitting her timings at the good time, and maybe even potentially prey upon a melee support that isn't Alistar. They haven't left Alistar up, they banned it away. Or it could be the lane that you just leave to do well and focus on other parts of the map. The draft will really shake out to give us more information in that regard. Banning away the engaged supports anyway to keep a bit of safety for the Varus. Very important on the side of KT.
Yep, Braum not going to be opted in for as far as the ban here from KT, and they are going to take away the Blitzcrank instead. The Galio understandably banned against Pawn. Looks like he may have a different idea in mind, though. Otherwise, that would not be a Zyra. That would have been a Galio locked in there for KT.
Orianna, already banned out, would be the obvious pick into Cassio. The Galio, her ability to just kite back and protect is there as well. So the mid lane champion for KT here is going to be a very intriguing one. Lucian makes it very far through the pick and ban, even though SKT have been first picking it recently. Talia is another option into the Cassiopeia. It'd be much more about the rotational early game focus that KT often leverage even if the Galio is down. It seems like KT trying to pick winning lanes, play the map, but also have important teleport or ganking power, depending on where the Maokai is going.
Yeah, and actually really like Talia here for Bond, just because his heroic entrance on that Galio and clutch moments have been fantastic, and he can use the weave as well in a similar way. Arrive in the team fight at the right time. Now SKT to choose their champions. Looks like Peanut's going to be taking a potential Jarvan into the jungle, unless that Cho'Gath is going to be flexed there and Huni's going to be playing towards the top side. That is going to be Kalista Cannon considered for Wolf and Bat.
Yeah, lane priority on both sides, double ranged on both sides, even though SKT were heavily criticized for going too much into the Zyras and other laning focused supports, want to have some priority in the lane. As you say, almost certainly going to be Jarvan jungle. Peanut hasn't been playing Cho'Gath jungle recently, and Cho'Gath does well against Maokai. Last pick for KT is the junglers. They flex the Maokai into top lane. They will be going with the Rek'Sai very standard power draft from KT with insanely powerful lanes for Score to gank. I feel like Score is the big winner here because the reliability in terms of lanes to gank is off the charts.
Yeah, the thing that I find really interesting though, Papa Smithy, is that Score decided not to go with his Gragas that has been so incredibly good, can also gank extraordinarily well in the early game, and we've seen what Score can do with Gragas if they make it to that late game. Looks like KT really want to put the pressure on early and keep it on against SKT here in game number 1. And KT have been good at game 1, so you could understand that this is where they're putting the eggs. But just foregoing Score's Gragas feels like they must have another plan here on the side of KT.
Just feels like it's a bit more insurance. You want to beat them early, having the extra information to know they're not going to body slam in and be turned by the flag and drag as early as level 2.
Yeah.
It's extra insurance for Score. Pathing junglers sometimes used, ironically, is the correct way to look at Score, who's pathing. Put Cuz to shame in that Longzhu series just a couple of days ago. But this is KT's moment. This is their destiny. Can they be the team, the first to go to Worlds, the first to book their spot in the Grand Final? SKT have been better recently, but today they play KT.
Yeah, but today we've got Huni on his Cho'Gath. We've got so many hype matchups across the Rift here for Game 1 of the Telecom War. Let's do it. Let's get on to the Rift. Oh, KT fans well and truly ready for this game number 1. Place where KT certainly have found success in the past, but looks like 5-point defense system as we set up. Loads of respect, and both of these teams know exactly what's on the line, and it's a heck of a lot, Papa Smithy.
Getting information of where Peanut starts in the jungle on Jarvan is so powerful because level 2 gank from Jarvan is perhaps the most scary at level 2 of any potential CC combos available due to the amount of distance he's able to cover. So even knowing if he's starting top or bottom side relieves a lot of pressure from the rest of the map. Not expecting any sort of invasions from the Jarvan. That's just not how his standard path will work. So we'll see if they push in any wards late or whether they're just trying to play equal. Equal vision for both sides. To me, if it is shallow vision, favors SK Telecom.
Well, at the moment, you can see KT not actually trying to go for any of that. It is going to be a topside start by the looks here for Peanut, potentially.
We spent a lot of the pre-match and the hype focused around KT, because to me they have the tangible goals, right? They want to win to be first. They want to win to be the first team going to Worlds. Everyone can understand that. But SKT, it seems like to me, because they can't move up. Remember, guys, even if they win both matches this week, they will finish 4th. They will be playing in the best-of-3 wildcard and then have to play the whole gauntlet if they are to be the champions of summer. But to me, SKT are playing for the intangible. They're playing for the right to once again be known as SK Telecom, the champions of the world multiple times, the sort of swagger they want to walk with as players. At the end of the day, SKT are known as that team that everyone around the world is afraid to face. And after their losing streak, we're not 100% sure to know, is it still that same SKT? Do they deserve that same level of respect because the opposition they've beaten so far has been lower level opposition? This time, they're against KT Rolster, and a win here for SKT would really allow their fans to once again have the same belief that they've had for years now.
Yeah, this is the redemption story that SKT have been looking for, that they haven't found in their last 2 victories. Score hanging out here, but Peanut well and truly ready as Pawn jumps his way forward. Not going to find the shove, but Score's going to tunnel forward, and that's going to be Peanut's opportunity to get himself in. Flash comes out as Pawn down to 200 health. And SKT, good follow-up, faking not a lot of mana. Will level up and get some back.
Stuff from Peanut. He was in position early for the counter gate, not moving to allow the Tremor Sense to give vision. And usually Peanut is the one who's playing the battle ward, invading aggressively. But now he's actually being Bengi-esque and actually providing coverage for his laners, something that he's done in fits and spurts over the course of 2017.
Now Peanut going for the invade actually starts off the blue, but you can see KT moving their bottom lane up, have the inside track, of course, to this buff. It's going to Peanut making his way out, just going to take the Rift Scuttler, so not wanting to opt in for any over-aggression, which he may have taken earlier in the year.
Seems like it was a multi-point plan to be able to contest that blue and also provide coverage through mid. When you go for the cannon in bot lane, auto attacks are so important, so you're able to push out in a lane that often Varasara will auto-win the push war, so they had the lane in a great spot. It allowed Wolf to roam, but not enough to actually steal away the first blue spot.
Well, right now, Bang & Wolf dealing with these plants that Marta's throwing down quite well. Score does end up taking that blue buff. It was put behind just a little bit by Peanut, getting himself in there. Smeb trying his very best to last hit with the clumsy little root arms of the Maokai under his turret.
KT's comp, worth noting that in the late game, they will find it very difficult to push damage onto the backline. Talia famously, sure, if she gets a shove onto a carry, because she's coming out of control ward, can make a lot happen, but in general, the threaded volley is going to be absorbed by a 5,000 health Cho'Gath or a fairly tanky Jarvan, rather than being able to be pushed onto Cassiopeia, Kalista, and Kennen. So their early to mid-game rotations, with the reliability of their teleports, teleport plays between Cho'Gath and Maokai don't have a lot of overlap. It's not quite Trundle versus Maokai, but it's close to that, given that hitting a Rupture after a 3.5-second teleport is very difficult to pull off reliably compared to Maokai, who's got the point and click.
Yeah. The thing that I'm looking at, Papa Smithy, is the Plants duo. Is actually got Faker going aggressive against Pawn. These Twin Fangs should be able to find it. Heal comes out. There's the flash. Threaded volley, but it's blocked by the minions. The score turns up and no kill there in the mid lane. But these guys are out for blood.
Gotta love when they go super aggressive very early. Score's here to help them push out the lane. Peanut there for coverage. Maybe that's a preview of a Titanic 1v1 we'll have later in the series. First blood to either side as a solo kill in mid lane would put their fans into ecstasy.
Oh, certainly would, and both of them now without a flash. So Score and Peanut understand that there is a huge target painted on their mid laner.
Do remember that Peanut does have flash, and we saw Spirit yesterday pull off some very creative flag and drag into flash the last second combos. Score doesn't have his flash yet, so doesn't have the same ganking pressure, so Cassiopeia relatively is in a safer spot if Peanut continues to jungle around mid.
We can see Bang & Wolf actually doing very, very well farming things out here towards the bottom side, but the pressure is in favor of KT. Deft actually feeling comfortable moving up towards this turret. I feel like they know this because they've spotted Peanut multiple times around that mid lane. Vision is down and Pawn. We'll see whether he can actually move over, safely navigate this potential gank, because Peanut just wanders through the lane.
Pawn leaves lane because he has the defensive information on the bottom side, does spot Peanut out. Thought for a second there he would do the casual wander away from a gank, then gank bot lane play, but there was wards available for SKT.
Yeah, and actually pretty clever using that scrying orb to be able to clear out the lane ward as well, to be able to spot where Score's going to be going if he transitions via the mid lane. Haven't seen a scrying orb go quite that far the other way. Now backs are going to come in towards the bottom side of the map, and both of these 80 carries are going to grab their Bilgewater Cutlasses.
Smeb pretty greedy with his teleport, because Pawn was able to rotate out first, but just wanted to pick up all the experience. Teleport advantage for Cho'Gath, but we just outlined that making a teleport play with Cho'Gath is a multi-step process that's a lot more complicated than a Maokai teleport, so perhaps just hoping that, given the nature of Cho'Gath, he won't be in any way taken advantage of in the next 4 minutes or so while his teleport is down.
So he's going to head back to base. Here's Huni. So see whether he does use the teleport to get back there, because Smeb has been able to successfully shove that lane forward. That is going to be the teleport thrown out. So that teleport advantage that you mentioned, not going to be quite as prevalent as we move forward, but it just doesn't feel like one of those games. It does feel like the lane kingdom that we've discussed so often is well and truly in full effect, and it's going to be about what these junglers can do to change the odds. None of this 4-man, 5-man stack on the bottom side of the map at a given portion of time.
If you ask me which team prefers to play a long game, I would say SK Telecom, just because Cassiopeia is a bit of an anomaly when it comes to scaling compared to the side of KT Rolster. SKT at 20 minutes have immense Baron threat. Immense, because they have Cassiopeia, Kalista, so they already have the Ren secure, and Cho'Gath as well, who'll have the extra 1,000 true damage very early. So KT Rolster need to either control the top side of the map or put put down those wards around 20 minutes. Otherwise, the Baron secure at 20 minutes that we saw from MVP yesterday is even more possible from SKT.
Yeah, they got so much DPS out of the Cassiopeia, and like you said, that's secure. Frightening stuff, but KT is also a team that if they manage to get to that 20-minute mark in the fashion that they generally are able to, then there shouldn't be control around the river for SKT, because KT have been able to often navigate themselves to positions where they can push their vision forward, be able to make sure that that area is under their control. Right now, not necessarily the case.
KT have the highest gold difference of 15 of anyone in the LCS regions and the LCK at plus 1744 gold, which in a league as difficult as the LCK is a very impressive number. A lot of Galio games do buoy that, but they're so confident to play 4 tanks and an Ashe, or 4 tanks and a Kalista, which they played a lot recently, and actually hit their timings in the early game, have a big early game gold lead, take advantage of. And look, sometimes, let's be frank, they do have some weak mid games. The early game is their playground.
Well, there's the ultimate actually out as the Stranglethorns come in as well. Bang has to flash, and that's going to be first blood going down as Def falls immediately. It's going to be Score answering back as we've got the mid laners battling once again, but that's going to be the Petrifying Gaze, and Faker gets the 1v1 kill. Somehow, it's in fact going to be Bang picking up an assist with a Sentinel. There's Peanut, he's going to take some damage, jump himself over, and SKT off to a phenomenal start and will augment it with a Mountain Drake.
Yeah, SKT's wards around mid lane even allowed Faker to catch Pawn unawares and pick up a bonus kill elsewhere. No ability for Maokai to get in. Huni's so happy to continue laning against a Maokai with no threat of the teleport. Very easy turn onto the Mountain Drake, and hell, that Baron secure we talked about just got better.
Oh yeah.
We're going to see the replay coming through here, and KT are not 100% in sync, not able to knock up further through the ultimate there from the Zyra, as we see on the other side, Faker. It was just a face check coming through for Pawn, who didn't have any vision in the area, so was disrespectful in how he approached coming bot lane with no flash up as well.
Just holding onto that Weaver's Wall to try and utilize it to cut people off on the bottom side of the map, was obviously not necessarily looking there as he walked past Faker.
He didn't have the famous mid lane priority that goes hand in hand with the lane kingdom meta you were alluding to, Atlas, to make such a bold rotation, and well caught out by Faker. Summoners up on both sides for them now, but the damage done early.
Yeah, and it will be very, very difficult for Pawn to hold his own here in this lane. Goes back, gets himself a Null Magic Mantle and a cute little Amp Tome. The blasting one now onto Faker. Deft still with a slight CS advantage, and they are shoving this wave very, very effectively over and over again. Below half health is that bottom outer turret. No first brick to go down just yet. So Faker will go back and keep putting the pressure on. You can see Pawn already standing so far back. Their vision not necessarily there.
He's been able to get great purchase timings, already shot twice and has a Righteous Glory. Finished and fully completed at 11 minutes. Smeb has been slower for his second back, so only has the Merc Treads complete so far. See Huni go on the same sort of roaming missions that we saw yesterday from ADD.
Yeah, just going to eat a Rift Scuttler over and over again.
Bot lane.
Yeah, there's the Fate's Call. Flash actually comes out from Deft as Wolf. Lightning rushing around, that isn't going to be able to find any purchase, and they knew that Peanut was there, so good reaction there from Def, but still get the Summoner Spell in trade for an ultimate.
Just seems crazy that KT opt into the higher damage, laning-focused bot lane battle. Thresh was banned for sure. They could have found another engaged support apart from the Alistar and the Thresh. Instead, they go into SKT's wheelhouse. What they played the most has been these double-range comps, and this time they've had the coverage from the Jarvan. Be good about the decision-making. Here's the engage.
Yeah, Def trying to stay alive, but he's down to about 300 health. Good knock-up comes in as Peanut's going low, but Huni wants to find this AD carry. Wolf is going to get eaten, is now once again in the mid lane. Things going wrong. Pawn has to get himself underneath this turret. In the end, it's a 1-for-1 as the top laners get involved as well, and Smeb looking to try and continue the pressure. Can KT get some damage on this turret some more?
But even though it was a 1-for-1, Atlas, again, you pick out the right thing to talk about. In the mid lane, Faker with no summoners forced out both from Pawn and the recall. So Faker's advantages into Pawn on the Taliyah. Taliyah, with the ability to have gank support, can pressure Cassiopeia with a faster wave clear, but just left her own devices. Cassio is outplaying the Taliyah.
Well, that ward is going to die. You can see KT notice that it falls down, and that's going to be Bang's cue to exit. As he heads back to base, Blade of the Ruined King done for Deft. It should be done also on the side of Bang, unless those boots of his have put him behind, as Recurve is what's going to augment his item build.
Well, the gold from KT and their 2 kills awkwardly is on score on the jungle Rek'Sai this game.
Rek'Sai getting ahead, Papa Smithy.
There's a bit of a meme. What it means for this particular game is it allows for some vision missions, and that means actually they'll get the coverage around bot lane to have the multi-pronged attack where they go down for first brick. It seems like first brick will be picked up here. There's so much coverage in that bot lane area. No teleport on the Cassiopeia, of course, to impact this.
Yep, that's going to be first brick going over to KT. SKT able to shove out both of the other solo lanes. As it was Pawn actually moving himself down as well. That's going to be free time for Huni, free time for Faker. I don't think either of these turrets should fall down. See whether KT can actually stabilize. Huni's actually doing a lot of work. I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to actually get that turret.
Didn't really like the decision-making from KT. You know, we talk in the pick ban about what the comps mean, what they mean on paper, but quickly if gold goes fast into one member or another, those on-paper matchups mean a little bit less at us. So KT responding and understanding that a 2-kill Rek'Sai and just a Maokai, they are the most reliable way to invade aggressively and turn for a pick while they're in the enemy jungle. That's why they were able to take down the first brick, because they used the one thing they did have in the early game, which was a fed Rek'Sai, to allow first brick to be safe enough to be claimed.
Oh, now, CKT actually, sorry, Huni, getting gigantic on this Cho'Gath.
You're going to have to really have a lot of adjectives for large in this particular series when Cho'Gath's in the game.
Many bigs, Cho'Gath.
An opening the dictionary, I see.
Yes, yes, completely. My thesaurus skills are certainly up there. But it is just going to be that classic swap from KT. Take the bottom lane out of turret, move your AD carry and support towards the top side, see whether you can take that one down as well.
Yeah, increased pace of the game is what they want. They have tremor sense. They also have the ability to find a quick pick with multiple members of the team. Basically everyone a pick champion on the side of KT Rolster. So turrets going down works for KT. They're strongest in the mid game before the items start piling up on the Cho'Gath and the Cassiopeia. But this is their time to rotate around the map and try to make it as open territory as possible.
Yeah, and you can see actually KT answering that turret with that top lane outer as well. It does mean that they are still ahead in gold. It's only 1,500. Not necessarily something to write home about, but 1,500 is this standard lead that KT have been able to amass most of their games so far.
And this time it's on the side of SKT, so that's a bit of a difference. While they rotated top lane, they weren't actually able to confirm the turret. And with a Mountain Drake spawn, KT don't want to give up 2 Mountain Drakes. We've already outlined how powerful SKT are at killing the Baron without even a Mountain Drake to talk about.
Yeah, it is going to be KT actually starting this one up. Marta pulling that one out of the pit by the looks, but KT not hyper convinced that taking this dragon down is a good idea.
Top laners didn't have teleport, that's why they were able to start it, because Cho'Gath won't be here just yet.
Yeah, pinging the fact that he's not towards the top side is Peanut taking a lot of damage actually from those plants.
Weaver's Wall could cut them off here, Pawn hasn't used it yet.
Yeah. He's going to throw it out now just to break off this fight, and it's going to be 3 members. Oh my god, Bang going so far away from this
Peanut
fight.
got the Mountain Drake.
Trying to do what he can. Yeah, Peanut's going to be able to get that steal, but Deft, he takes down Peanut. Now SKT, they are closing in on the tanks of KT already. A delicious tree was devoured by Huni, and Score looking to try and flash his way out, but the Ren should be enough to do it if he can make it there. I thought that that was going to be a headbutt by the Rift Herald, but no, he's just going to take down the turret, and SKT, multiple objectives after KT didn't find the smite.
And even though KT were first to rotate, you could see SKT had a very early plan of how they wanted to answer KT's force onto the Mountain Drake. That part doesn't even matter because SKT were able to take it. We'll see the replay here. Score's smites have been a bit off recently, and once again, slightly too early means that Jarvan claims it. Then he's just able to occupy Deft and Pawn for time, and all-important time early into the fight. That allowed SKT so much more access to the bot side, and then Faker, Flash, Petrifying Gaze, doesn't find any members, but does zone people out of the choke. That's why the kills on the backside was so easy, and because there was the early channel of the Rift Herald, they get the mid lane turret as well.
Yeah. Rooney actually setting that one up earlier. Has himself a Warmog's armor as well. That Negatron cloak is there to augment that magic resist that he only had in the form of his Merc Treads.
Amusingly, he's going for the max damage build, which for Cho'Gath represents Warmogs and the Gargoyle's Stoneplate as the next purchase.
Yep.
SKT already have the turret lead here with all 3 outer turrets down. You couple that with control wards around the Baron, and then you're in the unenviable position as KT of trying to fight for Baron vision against both Baron secure from a Cho'Gath, but also insane pick power. He's a pick champion in his own right.
Yeah, well, they've got Baron secure from Kalista and Cho'Gath. I feel like if SKT are allowed to start the Baron, you can't let it get to 3,000 health because they press Smite, Rend, and the Feast, and that's a dead Baron just instantly from 3k.
You do wonder how many times they've practiced the exact damage numbers there, because the multi-smite is not going to be at the exact precise second. Often there is a small chance to be able to smite away, just like when you smite away from a Nunu consume animation or even feast animation. So how many times have actually been able to get that down to mathematical scientific formula? Going to be potentially something that Score can get lucky around. He already was frustrated by having the Drake stolen away from him by Peanut.
Yep, hasn't been having a lot of luck with the smites, as you mentioned earlier as well. The series by KT against BBQ was a frustrating one, as Faker's going to move himself to the correct side of the Weaver's Wall, away from the danger, but Huni's going to make his way back with a teleport, and that's going to get out the ultimate from Deft. They saved the turret, get an R button, but they do expend the teleport.
But you do see what's different, because they don't have a tank support like a Thresh, and because Maokai's not grouped. Usually when we see the Weaver's Wall turret plays, a strategy that has become about as standard as can be in the summer season, they involve invading for vision, putting down coverage to see who is going to come up and try to stop you taking the turret, and then you put down the Weaver's Wall. KT had to skip steps because they have Zyra as a support, and they can't actually get deep vision on the blue side of SKT. Meanwhile, SKT are able to contest the enemy red buff, so when it comes to tempo around vision, around picks in the jungle, KT aren't even able to walk out to look for a Grasping Roots or a Varus ultimate. And so the plays from KT, they're pretty low value. They don't really get any sort of damage onto the outer top lane turret, and SKT just return to farming after picking up an advantage.
What's come out of this is an absolutely massive Cho'Gath in every single way. Currently 40 CS ahead, sorry, 60 CS ahead of Smeb, as well as 2-0-0 with that Gargoyle Stoneplate so close to being finished as his third item. We mentioned that Huni hasn't been one of these players on SKT that's seen the victories of their last 4 games. Last time he played was in a loss, but this is a very different performance on a very different patch, and a champion that he has been known for in the past, but certainly not recently.
I mean, Huni has picked up wins on 4 champions, and if I was to poll you and ask you what those 4 champions were, you'd probably get the Rumble. You might get the Kennen, but the only other champions he's won with are Cassiopeia and Lucian. Very off-meta counterpicks. So he hasn't been playing the meta champions. No win on Camille, no win on Renekton or Shen or any of these other meta champions. In solo queue, spamming the Cho'Gath should be no surprise to the KT scouting, and you're right, on 7-14, he gets access to a champion he's won on before. 2 wins on Immortals, 2 wins on Fnatic. Always a pick you'd associate with Huni. He's been a big fan of the lane Cho'Gath. Gets to play it here in meta, and another player who's been buffed by 7-14, just allowing extra champions into the pool.
Yeah, you brought this back to my attention earlier on, Papa Smithy, but Huni did really find a lot of his success playing the tanks as well, and now that we're back into a tank-based meta, it feels like Huni might have found his stride once again.
It's a weird thing to say out loud,
I know,
right?
It's super weird, because he is a fantastic carry player, but he just tends to get a little bit overexcited.
I think just in general for SKT, playing around carries, their long loss streak was largely around Jax and Camille and other laning-focused champions, Fiora as well, that they struggled to seem to understand how to match tempo, take advantage of games, allow for a split push to get an advantage. Those are things SKT couldn't do, and that's why they went on a loss streak on 7-13. In 7-14, they've been much smarter to use Rumble and Cho'Gath, basically tanks or the Rumble who can push in the tanks, roam in for vision on the enemy jungle, and use that to make logical decisions, and from there grow leads. Back to the old SK Telecom against Everate and Rox Tigers, but here also it's been logical play from SKT, and that's why they find themselves with a 4,000 gold lead at 23 minutes. Yeah,
and it's also back to the genius drafting as well from SKT. The things that we have been expecting from Coma for so incredibly long were relatively absent in 7.13. I mean, it's hard to call out such a genius man, but it wasn't looking like SKT were at the same form with their decision-making in the draft. This time around, they have got exactly what they want and have the answers to KT that they were looking for.
But at the end of the day, I'm not willing to say LoL lost at draft, because KT have a strong draft in their own right. They have pushing lanes, they had a Fed Rek'Sai early, they have the more reliable teleports. Where things went away from them is that because they drafted a range support and not a melee support, they haven't been able to get the wards they could in previous games, or the tank line to put down vision, and that's why more often than not we're seeing things like Faker flashing onto Deft, or a 4 members walking to the top side to try to get vision on for an outer turret take with the Weaver's Wall and failing to do so. The Baron buff already is being leashed, Atlas, and they'd love to return to it soon.
Yeah, SKT demonstrating that they know exactly what their comp can do. Pick themselves up a cheeky Infernal Drake as well. It feels like Summoner's Rift itself knows that this is a hype match because we've got double Mountain into Infernal, Papa Smithy. KT back to the mid lane. They want to clear things out, and at least they have been able to stop the bleeding when it comes to these towers. No inners to fall down just yet. But it feels like the calm before the storm once again, much like the first few minutes in the studio, and now the Fate's Call comes in. Oh, really good chance of corruption. Stops the further engage, but that's going to be Peanut finding his way around the side. Deft surviving for a long time. There's the Weaver's Wall. Eventually, he gets eaten as Wolf is the one cut off. But that Weaver's Wall could have been in a better spot because SKT all get out. KT no option to find an advantage as there's the flash. Okay, Huni not finding anyone.
Teleport had to be cancelled from Maokai because the DPS was already dead, and Pawn is not enough damage to take down other members. They turn onto the Baron, and KT Rolster can give them no quarter. This Baron will explode.
Yeah. Feel like it gets down to that 3,000 health mark. You've got a Nom from Huni. You've got the Smite. Grasping Roots too slow as the Rend is what secures it. A lot of snares, but KT just used it to disengage, and that was the freest Baron that SKT could find. Really nice stuff, and just feels like this game has gone from clockwork to clockwork play on the side of SKT, something that we've been used to talking about in days gone by, Papa Smithy.
And unfortunately, KT have missed their chance to play the draft as they would have intended it, which was to do plays like we saw with Weaver's Wall behind a turret, get a turret lead themselves. KT drafted pushing lanes in multiple different areas and a reliable ganking jungler. Didn't really make anything of what they had, and instead have allowed SKT to take the turret lead. And now you talked about Gargantua and Cho'Gaths. That's without even Gargo's Stone Plate being acted. Huni looks like he's moving slowly because he's got such a large model on this Cho'Gath. And now KT's comp doesn't really do anything, Atlas. They can clear waves, they can delay the game, but SKT can dive. SKT have insane Baron secure, and all KT can really do is watch.
Huni's bigger than 2 turrets.
Yeah.
That's like too big.
I mean, if this wasn't such a high-profile game, I'd love to see him do the taunt with the speakers on this Battlecast Cho'Gath skin.
It's like Woodstock. Crazy loud. Now, the Baron going to be utilized here in the mid lane by Bang. See the rest of SKT, apart from Huni, moving towards that bottom side. Pressure in all 3 lanes, wanting to take down inner after inner. Get themselves towards the base. Start knocking down the inhibitor turrets. Faker makes short work of that bot inner turret.
SKT
There's certainly more they can take.
SKT have pretty abysmal siege. Kalista, Cassiopeia, Cho'Gath, when you're talking about carries, is not in no way good siege, and the wave is so good on KT's side, but it doesn't matter with how far ahead SKT are. They can threaten dives. There's no defensive vision from KT really anywhere on the map, so only in their base do they feel safe. Okay, SKT is going to keep growing a lead and take down every outer turret, probably in one fell swoop.
Yeah, KT relegating themselves to their base, wanting to hold on to inhibitor turrets, but not really caring about these inners. Smeb might need to be a little bit careful, as the logical next step is to pay a visit towards him, but it doesn't even seem to matter as SKT, looking for this gank. The Nature's Grasp does come out, as there's the ultimates from both supports. Good knock up onto Huni as he gets knocked back into the bouncy castle. Deft keeping himself very, very safe as Bang takes a little bit of damage, but doesn't seem to care with his lifesteal that he already has built up, and SKT just spreading KT so thin. Yeah,
Huni backs off, but he still has 3,300 health. He's only backing off because he has no mana, Alice.
Yeah, well, Weaver's Wall coming in. No Fate's Call can be used onto Bang. It's the other way around, remember, as he has to flash, get himself over to the side. It is going to be QSS used at the same time. So some notable cooldowns that SKT are able to get out for that Weaver's Wall.
Huni should actually recall. There's no reason for him to stand around. He has no mana, so even though he doesn't die, doesn't really do anything apart from pushing this last wave. Maybe there's certain gold values trying to get to, but you're kind of baiting your teammates when you're staying as Cho'Gath here with no mana. Sitting on a casual 5,000 health, and that's not even including the Stone Plate proc.
gets himself home. He blocks that entire walkway. How does he even get through that? I think he's bigger than that. It's ridiculous. Okay. Peanut and Bang clearing out things in the jungle, and as it is going to be a little bit of a reset as the Baron buff is soon to wear off. There it goes. Really moving himself up towards top. So a few minutes, and that Baron dance will happen once again. And it only gets easier for SKT as that last Baron play was a big one. 9,000 gold, now the lead for our spring champions. And it feels good to say that again, Papa Smithy, not talking about SKT in this negative light that we were sort of forced to with their losing streak.
Sounds like some caster bias right there, Atlas.
That's a name. But it's just one of those things, you know? This feels like a little bit of normalcy.
The familiar can be good, but
yeah.
SK Telecom have a gargantuan fan base, probably the biggest of any team in the world. Faker by far the most popular player of any in the world, next to people like Uzi, I would say, from the Chinese side.
Yeah.
But they were left wondering, because of the losing streak, what to make of SKT. A new patch gave them hope. The 4-0 they have previously gotten on this patch gave them hope, but this is the performance where people realize that it does seem like the SKT of yore is still a factor. And while I don't share your optimism necessarily around SKT inevitably going on to be once again the level of dominant force they were before, it is good to have them as a contender, because the resulting matches we get between the best teams in the world are a treat to watch.
And it's not that I'm saying that they're going to win everything or this, that, and the other. It's just saying that they are the force, that a victory against them means something like it would against the spring champions, you know? Like, we're getting back to that stage where SKT, I mean, they've got complete control over the Dragon as they were able to just take down a Mountain Drake while we're having this discussion. But understanding what your victories mean against... This isn't a crippled SKT for what it looks like. This looks like a dominating SKT in this first game.
I mean, at this point, KT really can't do anything. Peanut is a super tank. Cho'Gath, whatever is bigger than super, a monster tank, I guess we would call him. Basically a monster truck rolling through KT. Yeah. Unfortunately, they're the other side of the monster truck, Derby.
It feels like, you know, see Mad Max Fury Road?
I have.
Yeah, he's like that big truck. And he looks like it as well. Hopefully he's not piloted by that weird dude with the face mask. Okay, there's the knockback onto Peanut. Has to use the flash, so no flash Cataclysm to come out. KT probably pretty happy about that, especially Deft.
Basically, SKT want to just take the next Baron and then dive is probably the way they'll go. As long as Huni is the one tanking the turret, they'll be A-okay. Baron is so necessary for them because we mentioned a couple of times, Varus and the Talia, about as much wave as you can ask for from two members, and Maokai and Zyra are no slouches either. So their ability to push without Baron buff is actually quite crippled. Got great map control, but KT finally feels strong enough to start walking up to the Baron. Not going to allow any free time because it's 3 damn Mountain Drakes and an Infernal, plus the comp from SKT.
Oh, Huni looking for the flank. Remember, this is a guy with the 2-item lead over his opponent as there's Pawn in a little bit of trouble, but does still have the Banshee's Veil. There's the engage from Peanut as Deft, all on his own. No options to get out of anywhere, but Faker is going to fall down immediately. Pawn now looking for the DPS. Oh. As finally SKT get themselves back into the fight. Score in trouble as the Ren gets pulled out. No resets to come in, but here are the kills for SKT. 3 already dead. Smeb and Marta running for their lives. There's a twisted advance. The knock-up, though, comes in from the Rupture, and it's all too easy. SKT, they've got the AD carry alive, and they'll break open the base right here. No Baron necessary.
Actually, a badly botched fight by Faker in particular. This kind of died in no man's land. But Huni, wait till you see the replay and see how much feast damage he put onto Pawn. Bursted him for over 1,000 true damage as far as my eye could see. And SKT, doesn't matter if they don't have Faker, they're going to win the game.
Yeah, they are. They're going to take down the Nexus turret. Second one falls, and first blood in this Telecom war does go to SKT. Some would say predictably, but if you missed the most recent weeks, most certainly not predictably here, but it is a best-of-3 series. KT now to move to the other side of the rift, and we'll see whether we're going to get to 3 once again, Papa Smithy, because I certainly hope we do.
SKT fans will say business as usual, but they didn't know before this series started whether that will be the case. with their struggles recently and who they beat last week, we had no idea what to expect when it was SKT against our champions-elect, our first-place team as of writing in KT Rolster. But SKT played ordered, as you say, drafted smartly. There were still ways KT could win, but the moment that KT looked anemic at trying to take out a turret, you could see they would never actually get return visits to those turrets. SKT got the turret lead, they had the massive Cho'Gath, and they won the game.
Yeah, putting the priority where they knew they needed to.
So
let's have a look at this Cho'Gath.
Baker is caught out alone, and he has a lot of the gold here, but watch Huni and watch how much true damage he takes to Bond. Pops the stone plate and eats him. He does almost his full health bar.
That was a rupture and a feast, and he was dead.
Yes. He died with both summoners up because that's not the sort of calculation you make as a carry.
Yeah. Don't necessarily think that that tank is going to literally 100 to 0 you. That certainly happened. Huni was a complete monster. I would be surprised if we saw Cho'Gath again.
And KT Rolster is on the blue side, remember, for Game 2. More flexibility to ban away something like the Cho'Gath, but we don't even know if Huni's playing Game 2, Atlas.
That is a very good point, but I probably wouldn't sub him out after that incredibly dominating performance, Papa Smithy. Still a potential 2 more games unless SKT can turn things all the way around, get themselves to 6 game victories in a row, which is the perfect setup to get themselves towards that gauntlet run that they could get to. Of course, even another match this week as well, so they could be on 8-0. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go towards that short break, but when we get back, the Telecom war will resume.
Jumping fences. We're gonna shake these moves. We're taking chances.
I am the light bringer. Now listen, fellow warriors.
comp work, and team fighting was never going to be their happy place. Huni missed out on 9 games in a row. No siding of him, no substitutions in. He opens this series, and they're back to the MSI lineup, and Huni getting the Cho'Gath into his champion ball. First game on Cho in Korea, and from very early moments in this game, he was massive.
He was definitely massive, both figuratively and literally, Papa Smithy. As look at this, just goes and eats Deft. Mata spends some time in the sky, and
this was Deft with the ultimate escape, but you know, when there's this many bad guys, even the good guys can't get out.
Yeah, just way too many. Eaten once again. And he's just too big. He's just too big, Papa Smithy. You can't click on anything other than Huni, but he's got so much health, it doesn't matter if you do damage to him.
He can just stand on carries, and it's very, very hard not to click and do pointless damage to a Cho. As we get to see this replay, are you ready for some gameplay, Atlas? You ready for the gameplay?
Yep, here it is, here it is.
Are you ready for the gameplay?
Interactive League of Legends!
We didn't get any gameplay.
Yeah.
We just got Cho'Gath instant bursting down a carry at 6,000, 10,000
I can't believe Pawn didn't use his heal.
He was silenced.
Oh, that was it. Otherwise, he would have certainly survived. As there is the culprit on your screen right there. The man that eats mid laners whole. Okay, still some grins on the faces of KT, who know that they do get the more favorable side, you have to say, especially in this particular matchup between these two teams. Having a bit more flexibility in the champions that you are allowed to ban away is certainly important.
They may be smiling between their teeth, but they're certainly not happy with how Game 1 went. But we're going to load into Game 2, and like you say, on Blue's side, they can ban away large aliens that eat them.
Well, it is going to be taken off the board. I feel like even if they're on the red side, I mean, don't ban the Alistar. Maybe ban the Cho'Gath instead. So Game 3, theoretically, if we get there, certainly could still be an option. But SKT priced into the Caitlyn ban because, yes, you need to do it anyway, but against Deft, you absolutely have to.
What will they give up? Their bans in Game 1, Thresh, Elise, and Orianna. Thresh ban sticks out as one they may want to do on red side, but of course, the flexibility of being able to ban certain things on red. The must bans already observed in Caitlyn and Zac. I feel like Elise will be their final ban on red side. Score was able to get a lead but not really do anything with it in that game. And they just ban away 2 tanks and the Cassiopeia that Faker's been loving. Feeling like a Lucian game here from one of these two teams.
Ha ha ha. But does SKT take it away? Do they take away the Elise? Oh no, it's going to be the Orianna going for the Ultra trade. Papa Smithy, is KT almost priced into picking Kalista?
Elise, Orianna, Kalista. Elise, Kalista is more available here as well. A lot of contested picks.
The Thresh still up and available as well. You don't want to let Deft and Mata be on that Kalista Thresh lane as well. That was what they were able to dismantle SKT with the first time around. Game number 1, the last time we saw these two face.
Yeah, at least Thresh would be a nice start of a draft, but I feel like KT had the right read in Game 1. Alice is going to be taken super early. Mata, of course, another famous Alistar player.
Oh, yes.
And Kalista Alistar's been one of the big favorites. Might have to be Kalista Rakan or the Thresh, as you mentioned. Taken by KT.
Could still be Braum or something like that. Mata's still with a lot of options.
Elise still available. Previously, Peanut has had a very high premium on Elise, so it would make sense for him to take it. They've left open other picks just to get Elise first pick and allow him to have skirmish power. Unable to get it in Game 1, had to ban it on Blue's side. But this allows Peanut to invade pretty freely, especially if those lanes are pushing as well.
And does KT decide to take something like the Galio here, thinking that they might be safe with the fact that Cassiopeia has been banned away, and then give SKT an opportunity to head towards that Lucian?
Galio Gragas could certainly be a draft here by KT if they want it. It's been so successful previously. Running against SKT is certainly a different challenge. Probably have to take it here, otherwise you'd expect bans to come through targeted at the mid lane.
Yeah, that Renekton and Galio ban could certainly be what SKT goes for after they lock in their last one, and that is going to be the Galio picked up. SKT, what do they do to answer? Does Faker just take the Lucian right now?
It's certainly one that lanes happily into the Galio.
Of course, Master Yi. That makes more sense.
I mean, he's played this before on 2 occasions.
Doesn't make as good use of the old Doran's ring anymore, Pop Smithy.
Lucian would make the most sense and will be locked in. It's banned in the second round in the previous draft. KT love playing the massive frontline and Kalista comp. They had to run it with Ashe last time. It's the sort of comp where you look at it, 1 damage dealer, sometimes 2, and say, okay, it's going to run out damage in the late game. And that's kind of, it feels like now, an old color point. Because if you consider the tank itemization available, the Gargo's Stone Plate on great example by Cho'Gath in the last game, and also the new Thornmail that's come through, the ability to soak damage for these tanks almost makes them hyper-carry tanks, which is kind of a weird thing to say. But in the past, the lifesteal, the armor penetration, and the crit damage meant so much, and it feels like those stats are kind of recreated by the Stone Plate and also the Thornmail. So there's an argument that the frontline gets tanky enough that Kalista will inevitably be able to put through the spears, because no one can get past Gragas and Galio.
What I want to see KT do here is flex Galio into support, Papa Smithy. That's what I want. And I want Pawn to be able to pick some assassin in the mid lane and really jump on top of Faker and end his reign of terror that he has been able to unleash on the Lucian. It probably won't happen. KT have taken away 2 of Bang's champions in the Xayah and the Tristana that he has been finding success on recently. Has been picks into the Kalista as well, as the Rumble is locked in for Huni. Back to an old favorite. And I was certainly not going to get my wish there, Papa Smithy. It is going to be Braum considered on the side of KT.
KT want to find a way to get a pushing lane against Rumble that's also a tank, which is very hard to do. It's one of the reasons that Renekton was banned by SKT, because KT's comp here, their rotational comp with tanks and globals, only really works if they have multiple pushing lanes. And the amount of pressure in the mid lane will be decent, if not ideal, into the Lucian, who does have a free lane and can control the lane quite well against Pawn. They end up going for the Jarvan, who does have decent ranged push and certainly can be another one of those frontliners. But SKT, in the face of KT's favorite comp, is going to be going for a very standard rotational draft. And to me, the jungle matchup might decide it again, Atlas. They've got the Elise and pushing lanes, so there still is the potential for Peanut to upset all the rotational play. KT kind of did a budget version of this tank comp in game 1, but couldn't make it work because they weren't able to get the map pressure to actually set up the Talia walls and take the turrets. This time they get their favorite comp, but SKT giving people their favorite comp and beating them is another one of those old memes that could come true.
Yeah, we've been talking about lane kingdoms so often as well, Papa Smithy, and SKT have set themselves up with some terrifying lane matchups as well. We know that KT likes to pile drive as a group with this composition. Is that going to be able to happen if Galio is permanently at a quarter health bar because Faker has been shooting him the entire laning phase?
Pile drive, dog pile, you're right. It's everyone gets in their comp. Grim Patrons, if you were into Hearthstone before. They really want to very hard initiate, and they certainly have that. But SKT upset their rhythm. The game was not played at the pace KT wanted in game 1, and that's why it felt decided at 12 to 15 minutes. Now they have Peanut on Elise, the strongest dueling jungler. Faker, freshly undefeated on the Lucian, who has a good matchup, into the Galio. They let KT get what they wanted to blind pick, but it wasn't a blind pick for SKT. They knew what was coming.
Yeah, they knew what was coming, and they picked accordingly as well. Marta on the Rakan. They've got the Kalista Rakan, which has seen so much success here in the LCK, was debuted and used to destroy, but has seen some losses recently. We'll see whether KT is going to be able to make it work, or whether it's going to be SKT reigning supreme in a 2-0. SKT fans certainly piping up now as the audience have most certainly all arrived here at the Soli Stadium.
Adorable drawing of Peanut. Some other members of SKT there.
Oh, Gentleman Galio there as well, I believe, in the mid lane as Pawn, making sure that he's looking dignified as possible.
SKT having mixed damage dealers is really important to making this comp work. We talked about how KT want to play the Dogpile comp around 2 items. Kalista getting her Hurricane, and the Blade of the Ruin King is usually the go point. But Pawn can't just itemize into a Bramble Vest and, you know, work his way towards his first tank item, like a Righteous Glory, for example, or another tank item, and be fine. Because it's Elise Rumble, the amount of early magic damage is super high on the side of SKT. Both of them will probably itemize into flat penetration early, and actually being able to get as tanky as they want to be on a budget early before you can happily finish 3 stone plates is going to be difficult for KT Rolster unless they're snowballing already.
Yeah. And it's almost like Pawn probably wants to go for Magic Resist early as well, just because it will be Peanut doing a whole lot of early game damage as well. We'll see exactly what does happen here as KT start off these Little Raptors, and that Winds of War is certainly very, very good at helping out.
Now, the reason why the Galio is a big pick for KT is that Score gets super happy, gets the super leash on blue side when you get blue side Galio. Hard leash on his small Raptors into a leash onto his red buff by his duo lane. Not many super leashes this week, but Galio in the meta does make it possible.
See Smeb getting a little bit angry at Huni, that grasp of the Undying paying off with the passive of the Jarvan. Bang, not going to get knocked up by that Grand Entrance, and actually Mata having to be careful. Time to eat some biscuits, I believe.
Trust in his knowledge of the knock-up AoE of that Grand Entrance. But the visual was actually suggesting he would be caught, but Bang knew better. Smeb has probably been our most impressive Jarvan player. Here's the level 2 game. Misses Flag and Drag, though.
Yeah, doesn't get the knock-up, but there's the body slam. There's the double flashes as First Blood comes out for KT at 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
It may have been a flash party that was unnecessary, but it still was successful.
That's how you make a missed Flag and Drag a flashy play, Papa Smithy. That's how it works.
Well, you have party casts. Apparently we can have flash parties as well. And that's also the super leash at work, Atlas. Where was Elise during that? She was just on her red buff. She was always going to be outpaced. It was a longer route taken by Peanut, so he wasn't expecting to be there anyway. But Rumble, in the face of a super leashed Gragas, needed to be more defensive. He may have wards down, but Score's going to try again anyway.
Yeah. And that blast plan means that there's not going to be a heck of a lot of time to react. No flashes anywhere. And there's the knock-up this time. Score's going to make his way through, but good
needs to hit
lands.
Another harpoon onto Score. He doesn't. He's dead.
Yep. That's going to be the overheat, and that's going to be another kill for Score. Peanut tries to get something back, but 1 versus 2 not going to happen. And Huni giveth, Huni taking the way. Fantastic flash out of Deft on the bottom side of the map as there's the stun coming out from Wolf. But Bang's going to get the Ren stacks pulled out of him. And KT already at a 3-0 start. Can they make it 4? No. Not going to happen here, but this is fantastic news for KT fans and fans of 3-game series for the Telecom War.
Exactly, they needed a gold lead. We said, how are they going to get a gold lead early and get tanky against the mixed damage? Well, picking up 3 kills in the first 3.5 minutes is a great way to do that. In 2 lanes as well. Gragas, awkwardly once again, has all the gold. Score, share it around with your team, they need it. But that was really good pathing around the top side. Score may have been 2-0, but it was pretty anonymous in game 1 for a player that deserves the large plaudits that Score gets in this game. He knew exactly what his role is, and look at the boot choice, Atlas. He knows what he needs to do this game.
He needs to get around there as quickly as possible, and it's not often that you see the Moby Boot purchase on the Gragas as well.
He's gone Moby Boots, and he's looking for a 3rd kill in top lane. He's Moby Bootsing into the lane brush.
He is trying to uber tilt Huni by the looks of things, who missed out on an entire wave
and not,
on that turret.
Not a bad strategy given Huni's reputation for that. As we get to go to the bottom lane, and very nice play by Deft and Mata. The lane kingdom from KT with the early tanks. This is their comfort, and they're doing it again.
Yeah. Okay, teleport from Pawn to get himself back into the mid lane, but we're just waiting for Score to decide to kill Huni. Just wants to be able to land the body slam, and then these gank buddies on the top side of the map should be able to do it. There's no knock-up to come in. Huni should be able to get himself out, but does get... Oh, no, he's dead.
It's level 4.
Super dead.
You don't need to hit your skill shots when it's level 4, and the Rumble is as anemic as can be. He's died twice, and the sum of those purchases was just the refillable. Goes back now and buys boots and a cloth armor. And desperately need it. Getting Smeb ahead. He actually picks up the kill this time. I was mentioning before all this, but Smeb has been our best top lane Jarvan because he's the smartest at waiting for the right time to engage. EQs haven't necessarily been on point, but the timings have been perfect. And actually, they give away the Elise, and they played around topside to the point where Peanut already is trying to put out fires and can't be the battle ward that you want to be on Elise.
And can't take the initiative as well.
That's what a battle ward is,
yeah,
right? It's
precisely.
About being there in front of the enemy jungle because you're happy with where your lanes are at. There is no initiative available because when you're firefighting, you're being reactive.
Yeah.
Score, at some point, you really need to calm
down.
Is
this seriously happening? Okay, ward goes in. Huni says, not again, gosh darn it. That's going to be the flag and drag. Peanut's going to arrive, but you mentioned anemic. This, I feel like he should be starting to gank the cannon creeps, Papa Smithy, because they're going to be worth more money.
And he looks nonplussed. He's certainly not proud of where he's at in this game. So many repeat ganks. The Boots of Mobility purchase paid off as well. Goes back. Doesn't have a full jungle enchant with 2 and 2 in the early game. But Smeb also has the lead. And all Huni can do is slowly put together his first item. He's going to work towards the Zonias with the Seeker's Arm Guard. But it's feeling like it's a long way away.
Yeah, we've got another engage on the bottom side of the map, though, as Wolf. I don't think he's going to be able to get the stun here. Stacks up the bells. But SKT having trouble on the bottom side as well, and we heard KT talking about this. It's, okay, Pawn looking for the snare. He's going to get it. Is that's going to be a steal, potentially? No. Peanut was able to grab the blue buff. Smeb going to teleport his way through, and Faker underneath the turret should be safe for now.
Okay, so they don't get anything off the teleport play. Worth noting, Atlas, that if it was only top lane that was going down, it doesn't necessarily mean that much. We've criticized teams for over-ganking a Rumble in the past unless they were actually able to get something in return, because Rumble can build and put together a very cheap item. But it's the bottom lane kill in combination with what they were able to do topside that is the biggest story for KT. Picking up the kill in the 2v2 while Peanut could not be bot side has punished the Alistar draft, who is a weak laner without jungle assistance or without a winning lane. So it's the bot lane kill that KT fans should be happy enough with, because now they're winning in different ways. And it's not just holding down Huni, who will eventually just have equalizer, a bit of magic penetration, and be okay.
Yeah. And now after all of that action towards the bottom side of the map as well, KT have got that deep vision down and should be able to keep tabs on where Peanut is, and thus able to continue that pressure on the bottom side, which, as we talk about it, Wolf only level 5. Ren going to be pulled out. They're down to about 300 health, but KT, a lot of power and a lot of pressure on this bottom outer turret. And it looks like SKT are deciding to forego defending this one for the moment. Should be able to stand for a while, though.
Another winner is Pawn, who you mentioned. He's on the Galio. He'll build a Bramble Vest and be okay against the Lucian, but Lucian gets a free lane. We've seen Lucian solo kill the Galio as well. He's down CS, about 18 CS down, I guess 15, and also some Raptors. He's got the Bramble Vest now, so the lane gets a bit better. But all he can really do is do what Kuro often did on Victor. Push the lane and be okay. Throw down 2 Winds of War. He can't really walk up for the auto attacks. He'll miss CS invariably over time. But because his top lane and bot lane are winning and his jungler is ahead, that's all Pawn needs to do.
Yeah, just nullify Faker. Make sure that he is not someone that's getting fed and able to answer the incredible pressure that Huni's under, and make it so that he's a non-factor.
And Score just takes blue because he's just relying on Pawn to do his job on a budget, let's say. Rich man's Jungle Gragas coming out as he wards up the enemy topside jungle, allows the Jarvan to overextend even more, and now he's just being the biggest bully ever.
Yeah, he's a gigantic jerk. Because now Huni's just going to get bopped again. I don't even know whether Score really cares about picking up a kill.
Good die.
There's the heroic entrance to come in. That's going to be Huni picking up a kill. It's going to reset his gold, though. But he's going to be able to flash away. It's Peanut that's going to fall, and Pawn grabs his first kill of the game. It's 1 for 1, though. And this money that Huni's able to pick up could be very important for SKT.
And it was really smart from Peanut, to be in the brush there, available for the guy. Waited for the cast to come out, and that was the moment where they could turn on to the Gragas, who doesn't have any health in his early build, but is working slowly towards his jungle enchant. And now it's double buffs on Huni, which won't necessarily win him the lane. The item discrepancy sees to that, but it does get him the all-important gold, as you mentioned, Atlas, and he gets closer and closer to the Leandries, and he'll still be able to do his job if his equalizers are on point.
Yeah, you saw the Hawkshot spot out Score, so Huni knows that once again he's going to have some attention, trying to get some extra vision there, but look at the deep vision on the top side of the map for KT. In fact, deep vision everywhere. This map is a Christmas tree for the KT Rolster lineup. 6 and 1 in kills. They're ahead only by about 1,200 gold, but they have all of the tools to try and continue this pressure. Night
and day in terms of map pressure, or tempo as we call it as casters. From game 1, this is what they were trying to create to allow the Taliyah plays to work in game 1, but when denied from doing so. Scores back top lane, predictably.
Yeah, going to wander over this control ward. I believe Score just wants his double buffs back.
Wants to take the top lane first brick. It's the objective they actually are looking for. At least his bot side was spotted out in a control ward, I believe, already.
Yep. Things going in here as well. They know that SKT are going to be playing around their bot side jungle.
First time that Elise actually plays on the bottom side while KT are getting their advantage top side.
Okay, Rebel not going to be able to find Tuần just yet as Faker in trouble. Scores come in, no Justice Punch, but it doesn't matter. Peanut in trouble now as well as Mata has the quickness, wants to find a grand entrance as he just pops over the wall, takes the ride with the Spider, and Peanut, he's in the Thunderdome, he's going to be taken down. Score grabs his third of the game, another pick. Wolf is going to be answered, and KT all over game 2.
Yeah, KTS slamming SKT. Faker was too far to the top side of the lane when they had no power there and got ganked by the Gragas. Unnecessary positioning from Faker. And from there, one by one, the pins fall. Look at Faker, who cheats topside because he's trying to dodge skill shots, and it's Turbo Gragas. The boots of mobility have been so important. He's the fastest fat man in the West, the East, all around the world. And from there, the collapse inevitably is going to be first collapse by Score, first collapse by the Jarvan. And it's just more and more kills for KT Rolster.
Yeah, as Hillbilly Gragas, he looks a little bit like one of the dwarves from Lord of the Rings, so obviously a natural sprinter, Papa Smithy, able to cover those short distances very dangerously, as KT will take down first brick on the bottom side of the map. They already had so much pressure there, but there's a 30 CS lead now for Def, just because the rest of the map has gone so woefully for SKT, and that early kill on top of it.
I'm smiling wide, Atlas, and it's not because KT is winning, it's because it's been the most KT Rolster series
So
you
KT.
could ever expect. Game 1, just the doldrums of defeat, everyone thinking, oh, it's SKT again. It didn't mean anything the rest of the season, and then KT, this is what they've done with so many teams. They're 10-1 with the Galio pick. It always functions the same. The queries will be there about late game damage, but not late game tankiness for sure. And when you're this far ahead in gold, even the tanks are putting out crazy damage.
Yeah, and when it's also an SKT lineup that doesn't have tanks of their own, it's going to be a front line that's unkillable against a team that tanks can kill. I mean, you're not going to have very many people that can stand up to even someone walking at you with a Thorn Mail. Apart from maybe Huni and Peanut, who don't necessarily do the auto-attack damage, but they're still not going to be able to kill these guys after they've got those magic resist items that they will inevitably pick up.
Horns a recipe short of that Thorn Mail you mentioned at a very fast clip.
Oh, yes.
SKT are not going to be walking in to contest any dragons at this point in the game.
No.
That much is certain. Blade the Ruin King already complete for Deft.
Yeah, Bang has a BF sword to answer, going for probably the Infinity Edge based build, but we'll go for a Zeal item most likely as the next choice. But it almost doesn't matter at this stage. Often those builds are for rotating around the map for when you're able to take initiative, but there's not a lot of initiative that SKT have available to them so far. Another game we're incredibly spoilt with our first few dragons. The first cloud going to come in of the series, otherwise it's been nothing but volcanoes.
Not like Peanut was spoiled being able to take his own red buff, given how much Gragas has been playing on the red side jungle of SKT.
Not no cocoon to land. Oh, good sidestep from Pawn, or maybe that was just where he was walking. Peanut predicting a juke that didn't come. That's going to be Rift Herald falling down. So KT wanting to break open more than just that bottom outer turret. See whether it is going to be used here in the mid lane as Pawn sets himself up for this potential 1-3-1 that the double teleport does give them the ability to use, and Smeb going to make short work of this top outer turret that I feel took a little bit longer to go down because KT just wanted to farm Huni some more.
One thing about this game is that this is the game we know KT Rolster can have against any opponent, right? We've seen them play these frontline focused comps many times and blow games open pre-20 minutes. It's where their big gold lead differential, that largest gold lead of any team in the world at 15 minutes comes from, is games like this. But it actually means more in this series because it's game 2, because we saw how strong SKT can be in game 1, Atlas. You mentioned that it actually puts the wins back in the sails of SKT, who have been struggling, as fans internationally know. So actually seeing what SKT is capable of, and then seeing KT Rolster put them to the sword like this, gives the important perspective, and also means that if we ever get that best of 5, regardless of result of this game or the future, you know how much the swings and how big they can be over the course of just a couple of games.
Yeah, and the spring final is what I want to go to here because it was the 3-0 and it felt like KT were ultimately demoralized after game 1, and then it just got worse as the series went on. And looking at this series, after game number 1, a lot of our minds went to, can KT even mentally get back into this? Obviously, that is absolutely the case, and they certainly can, but it has certainly been a question mark in the past, as now we've got another engage. I think that was Bang, but I don't actually know, because he was mostly just dead.
Yeah, it's just going for the mid lane turret. They prepped all the vision in the red side jungle earlier. Here's the Rift Herald. They'll probably want 2 turrets from this, given there's no Baron to fall back to. It's somehow only 16 minutes into the game. I'm sure Hooney is thinking this is the longest 16 minutes of his life.
Yeah. He's got himself a haunting, guys, though, Papa Smithy. There's another charge. This Rift Herald is doing some work. They just run it all the way up mid, take both of the outer and the inner turrets. And KT now looking to rotate and try and grab Faker. Faker wondering what the heck he can do to get out of this circumstance. As Pawn's just going to wander in and punch the guy. Good relentless pursuit to try and get him out.
Turbo Fatman.
Yeah, he is very, very fast. Just bops him, says thanks for the kill, thanks for the setup, Pawn. As Bang has respawned, but he's just cleaning up this mess that is the mid lane of SKT.
Same feelings we were thinking about SKT in game 1. You're feeling the same sort of pressure and tempo on the side of KT Rolster in game 2. That's why the best of 3 is so exciting. Even Europe learned it eventually, because we're going to get a 3rd game most likely. This is the sort of game where the throw from KT would have to be pretty impressive. Would take up multiple throngs, you would say, of team fights where they threw themselves at SKT for them to lose out.
I feel like they'd also have to all of a sudden be on different champions as well, because Deft's Kalista is pretty good at winning. Pawn's Galio's only lost once, Papa Smithy. And Score's Gragas is legendary. Marta's on an engaged support. Like, there's just everything going right. And Smeb's in the game. Pretty sure that's almost all you need. His J4 stats, I believe, undefeated at the moment. Is that one of his 6-0 champions?
That is his 6-0 Jarvan. You can just go in zone here. They don't need to overdive. And let's see if KT can be poised or whether they are looking for style points.
Cheeky extra auto attack does cost Deft half of his health bar. Maybe suboptimal, but there's the equalizer, just clear out the minion wave. Desperation here for SKTs. There's the flash. The barrel comes in as well, and there's the engagement from Marta. Hooney gets cataclysmed. That's going to be the flash out from Smeb, who is tanking the turret. More kills potentially here, but Deft can't tank too much of this turret because he doesn't have the health bar.
Minion wave's not there, so KT actually further the dive because they want to take down the turret and punish Lucian, who has been top this entire time. Not being able to take the inner turret will be a problem. That's why they continue to stick around, and KT, we see Smeb teleporting in. They want to kill the best player to ever play League of Legends once again.
Yeah. Vaughn looking for that Justice Punch to try and get the knock-up. Does close some distance, and he's just walking at the Lucian for now. Blast Cone just to do the ring around the Rosie as Faker getting
Doesn't have vision.
on.
Doesn't have vision of the Jarvan.
Okay, this is a 1v1 though, as Faker looking for a good sidestep. Heroic entrance is going to get Pawn in amongst it. And that's going to be his turn to tank up the damage of Faker. He's playing so tricksy, but you can't get away from that AoE taunt. And that's going to be, like you said, that master of the mid lane taken down by Pawn.
Just padding their stats at this point, not actually growing anything. Did not take the inner turret in bot lane, we should mention.
Peanut, he's in a lot of trouble. There's the Fate's Call. They're looking for Peanut. Uses his flash, gets himself out of the way, and KT go back to taking away the vision. Baron just spawning here as it ticks over 20 minutes. And it feels like a game that's gone for a little bit longer than that, Papa Smithy, but no. We are a very short way through.
And catch-up experience, and just the fact that Peanut hasn't been able to help top and has been farming instead means that when the Baron suddenly comes on the board, no guarantees KT Rolster will be able to secure that. They've made some kerfuffles around Baron in recent times.
Yes.
Almost feels like staying away from Baron and not making it an objective they force might actually help KT Rolster to roll through.
Or using it as an objective to kill SKT again.
Peel
because
off,
they have
absolutely.
To, yeah, certainly don't go for the smite battle. Score, I just don't think it's worth it. Pride is most certainly on the line. We remember the last time that they were able to actually secure the Baron at the end of that BBQ series. That was a time that Score actually personally said he'd rather forget.
Gold lead in some of these roles, massive. 2,200 gold and top. Actually is only 20 minutes into the game, so 100 gold a minute, you'll take it if you're Smeb. Nice lead for Pawn as well, which is put into being just the most unkillable.
Yeah.
No one does damage to him.
No, this is what happens. He's got both of the items that he needs at a time in the game where often you'd have like 1.5 maybe, and they wouldn't be expensive ones.
Funny watching Score wanting to water brush, but not allowed to.
Yeah, that could be the pickup on D'Amato, who just uses it as an engage opportunity. Def throws him back into the fight as Peanut tries to get out, and Faker, he's dead already. Equalizer in a decent position, but Huni should die. KT just too far ahead as the triple kill comes in for Deft. Peanut still alive. KT making movements towards the Baron.
Should be allowed to have Pawn just stay around and interrupt him. No flash from Peanut, no wards anywhere near the Baron. It should be the free Baron that KT Rolster would certainly prefer. While SKT looked for the gank brush, too far behind to actually make it work. 10,000 gold lead for KT Rolster when they kill the Baron.
Yeah, fantastic patience from Deft as well. Gave Marta all the opportunity to press every button as he was getting into it, as we will see it again.
This is a gold lead. Even Marta has gold lead from here. Very nice knock-up. Able to have the Fate's Core come in. It's a knock-up party for SKT. They didn't want to RSVP to this one. They didn't have a choice. Peer pressure is a strong thing. From there, it's a killing fields for Deft.
Yeah, just getting the Ren sets over and over again. Triple kill comes down. And that is going to be the Baron. KT, all the control you could possibly ask for. Faker may need to be careful. Even this feels like an overextension with your friends just around the corner. Deft and Marta moving back towards that bottom side. We'll see whether they take themselves a luxury Cloud Drake or whether it is going to be more tower pressure that they're going to opt in for.
You never want to slow down with this comp because there'll be other games where you're not this far ahead where you can't afford to take your foot off the accelerator. So you want to play this like it's a normal game. You don't want to play it like you're 15 kills up. That's where KT, I think, falls into bad play patterns because we see games where they just have a bit of fun, where they're a little bit off the boil. And then when they're in a game where they are closer than perhaps it first appears, they can make errors that if they tighten their plays on stage, they wouldn't make as often. So I want to see KT play this out as seriously as possible rather than skipping up steps because they're 12,000 goldish ahead.
Yeah, and we've heard in their most recent interviews, because we get interviews with KT a lot given their gigantic winning streak, 7 matches in a row, but they have said things like made noises about the fact that they have noticed this particular trend of maybe losing focus if they're too far ahead.
It's been a long time now, so when they talk about just recently noticing trends, I wonder if they have any insight at all.
That's a very good point. However, it's good to know that they actually know that, because it has just been one of those things that has happened, but they're easily able to break open the bottom inhibitor turret. Looks like they're doing work in the mid lane as well. Pawn and Smeb, the tanky members, just shrugging off the damage that SKT are trying to put forward. Arrow sails by majestically, and that's going to be the headbutt pulverize from Wolf. Has to flash his way out, though, as this tower will inevitably also fall down.
Now, KT never take the bait. They just stay on the turret. They stay on the inhibitor. Everything up for a re-engage after the arrow wailed by, but they don't over-engage. They do back away, and this is what I wanted to see from KT.
Yeah. Gonna head back to base now is multiple members of this KT roster, and there's the snowballed Bloodthirster from Deft. Has his QSS built up as well, triple lifesteal to potentially be finished off, but this is what you do. If they can't insta-burst you as Kalista, you just dance around and never die because you've got so much lifesteal, they cannot get through it. He's pretty much a tank as well.
And Pawn decided he wanted to do damage, doesn't need a Gargo's Stoneplate because they've got a Gragas and a Jarvan with 2 already. So they're pretty happy with the front line.
Yep. Well, and you're against Blade of the Ruin King and Leandri's Torment. Why don't you just build flat resistances? As there's the grand entrance. Faker in trouble. Deft wanting to make it a 1v1, but Pawn is going to nick that kill just at the last second.
2 levels down, but there's no fair 1v1s. The chivalry is not happening here.
No.
The British fans in our audience aren't going to appreciate this lack of respect, but no need for 1v1s when you're so far ahead as a team.
Well, it could have been a potential catch any other game for SKT there as Wolf and Peanut were set up, but KT can freely face check now. Because if it's Pawn walking into a brush, you're not going to be able to burst him down, and he may just kill you. If you're not tanky enough.
Tutorial victory being enacted by KT. Want to take down 3 inhibitors. Faker will respawn because it's so damn early into the game, only 25 minutes. Eternity for SKT fans, though.
Yes. You have to remember that this is a best of 3. SKT will have blue side once again in game number 3 as Smeb's getting himself amongst it. They haven't taken down the turret just yet as Deft does still have that Bates call to pull Mata out if he decides to go aggressive.
Boom.
And look at this, fantastic cast into the backline. There's the trigger, and there's KT ripping SKT apart. 20 kills to 2 right now as Huni's able to get another. Huni, of course, the one camped to high heaven, but also has 100% of the kills for KT. He's looking to try and get another, but won't be able to do it as Faker has to look on in terror as Deft just tears apart his base. The Ren stacks are in there, not going to be enough damage there as Deft says, well, I guess I'll just win the game. And KT even out the series in a game even more decisive than game 1.
Yeah, somehow they won up SKT, who had a great game 1, but KT Rolster lock in the Galio. They lock in their comfort. SKT allows them to assemble the troops, and KT Rolster put them to the firing squad. Very, very one-sided game. And I think people will be baited to say, so just look at Huni, just focus on his woes. He was camped to high heaven, but what was happening with their jungler and their bot lane that allowed the 2v2 kill to happen? Sure, the first couple of kills, Peanut wants to react, he wants to be there for the next one, but at some point, you have to make things happen elsewhere. Rumble will eventually get some items, and sure, you're losing in top, but just playing around top further and not making a visit to the bottom side of the map for 15 to 20 minutes, actually having somewhere you can go, rather than putting out fires into the top, just accelerated the downfall of SKT.
Yeah, just wasn't an option. Score playing like an absolute god this game at the same time. Yes, he took advantage of Huni a lot, but that cask, that headbutt, the body slam, thought it was a headbutt pulverized because it was that much CC, Papa Smithy. But man, is Gragas, I was wondering why he didn't pick at game 1 and game 2. I'm still wondering about game 1 because he's so good at that champion.
We get to look forward to a game 3. SKT will be on blue side, so they once again can influence the draft, but I think less range supports, more engage, can only help KT Rolster. They probably will not get the Galio. But SK Telecom seeing Huni with his players who will be playing for SK Telecom because Antara and Blank rolled in for the win last time these two teams met. It opened with Huni and Peanut, but it ended with Antara and Blank.
Yeah, but seeing Huni in game number 1, I mean, blue side did seem to benefit them if they can get Huni some priority in that lane. A lot of these questions you can understand whether if they are going to put a player like Antara towards the top side of the map, who is such a good role player. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll go to a short break. When we get back, game number 3 at the Telecom War. Welcome back to the Telecom War, ladies and gentlemen. We're all tied up as KT romped through SKT. There's not enough adjectives to really talk about how decisive that was, but 26 minutes, and my god, Deft managed to do a lot of damage. And in that little time, for Deft to be able to get that amount of damage onto champions is actually quite impressive.
And Deft and Mata were the unsung heroes, picking up the 2v2 kill while the camp was some extended insanity in the top side by the Gragas. The boots of mobility as the wave was being frozen to pop in and get the third, the fourth, the fifth. So many visits top side, all of them successful, whether the skill shots were hitting or not. Between Smeb and Score, you'd have to think Score, the architect of the downfall of Huni, will be our MVP. Very easy decision for the committee here. Score was a bit of a non-factor in game one, even if his early game KDA was good, but he was the exact opposite. He was the whole game in game two.
And there was the massive amount of flashes. KT knew exactly what they wanted to achieve. They were certainly going to do it in any way they could. And it's just is this the Huni death reel?
Yes.
It's not much of a highlight reel, really, because it does just feel like he's just dying repeatedly. And there's nothing he can do.
He's taken the position of Ryu, who was also always dying in SKT versus KT games. I guess now Huni's always dying.
Faker took his turn as well, so thankfully there's some solidarity from the solo laners as
Turbo Gragas.
Boop. Much more to say, it just got so far ahead, but like you said, the architect of how they were able to take down SKT, and that foot was never taken off the accelerator as well. In a 26... That's commentary right there. Moan about the plays. The Score, he's just looking down. He's not too phased because he knows that he has to do it all again in game number 3 with everything now on the line.
The job is still at hand, and okay, we hear some music. We know it's SKT's side as KT has no substitutes, and Huni predictably went from MVP to now being subbed out. They will bring in Untara. Usually we talk about the jungler substitutions when it talks about things like positioning, and sure, Untara will have been next to Koma, getting the information. It's a little bit different here. Champion pool adjusts as well. Looking at his solo queue, most played actually is Trundle, which represents a very different pick to the Cho'Gath. As still played Cho'Gath could still be a Cho'Gath-esque comp. But if it was Huni in game 3, maybe KT Rolster would have been pressured into banning Cho'Gath on the red side. You have to feel like they have to roll the dice because we're already at the stage, Atlas, where things are being left open because there's higher priority bans against the individual, against the team, not just being able to ban away the meta picks. Pick and ban has been so important in game 1 and 2, and we're ready to roll into our third and final pick and ban.
Yeah, and both of these teams now have a blueprint for what it looks like to have a dominant victory as well. There are certain options that you have to remove.
But the dossier has gone both sides. One team doesn't have the secret info. The full information is there, and that's why game 3 pick and bans are absolutely the best possible as an analyst, because you get to see, with full information on both sides, what the teams end up with.
Yeah, and how it's going to be changed. So SKT, are they going to open once again with their blue side ban of the Thresh? Or is it going to be something else? Because it feels like now that we've moved to SKT Blue, the onus is on KT to make the change.
Alistair was also banned by them. By KT, sorry, in the previous series, and they're going to ban the Cho'Gath anyway. Like I said, a meager amount of Cho'Gath, but still Cho'Gath played by Untara in solo queue. It's probably smart to ban that away, given that Pawn probably doesn't want to deal with that again.
Yeah. Now at least going to be taken away once again on the blue side here for SKT.
Final ban was Orianna, so we see an adjustment by KT and no adjustment by SKT. And remember those Zac, Kalista, and Caitlyn must bans on red side? KT says, screw your meta, we're making our
Yeah,
own.
We're on blue side now, we just don't care. We're just going to assume that we're going to get first pick after this because we banned the champions that we banned on blue side.
And now SKT, who have been banning what they did in game 1, need to make the quick on-the-fly adjustment because lots of stuff could be available. They don't want to play a game with Caitlyn. I don't think they've scrimmed or played Caitlyn in solo queue anytime recently, judging by ban trends. So they'll take away the Caitlyn. Kalista's probably going to be left open. Zac is the expected final ban, but I was wondering against Wonder whether they'll be left open, and it is left open because it's Peanut and not Blank.
Yeah, Peanut doesn't necessarily have the skin for the Zac this time around, but it is going to be picked up regardless. KT will get Kalista. They will get another big pick as well. Thresh not going to be the option, but KT can take away the Alistair if they want. The Rakan is certainly available.
Alistair would be a denial pick away from Wolf, like you mentioned. Galio also available, so they'll actually go for the standard KT comp. They'll be able to piece together most of what they played last series because nothing's banned.
Yeah. SKT not going to be able to pick away something like the Gragas as well, which you could imagine KT would want to opt in for going towards that second round of bans.
And that's the genius, right? Is they can put together at least 3 of the picks, if not 4, depending on the Jarvan, because Zac has been taken already, and we don't expect Untara to be playing top lane Gragas in this meta. So they give away the Zac to a player who is known for his Elise, his Nidalee, his dueling. They give him the teamfight jungler in Zac, who's already been further nerfed on this patch, and they get the big 3 all together.
Yeah, the Gragas is going to be snapped up. You can imagine as quickly as possible for KT. Now they're going to get into that banning phase, but SKT have made the change. The Alistair Tristana is there, and that is a lot of early game pressure in lane.
But the joyous thing is, you give this draft to both teams, I'm sure there's SKT and KT fans saying we won the draft. With just 3 picks locked in, such is the power of the Zac. Tristana is a lane counter into the Kalista as well. And KT also have what they feel is the God comp. So already, we're seeing trades of power rather than one team just putting together the God comp.
Yeah, and it feels like SKT have got the composition that everyone dreams for, whereas KT have the composition that they dream for every single time they hop onto Summoner's Rift.
Got to start banning melee supports, so we see the Rakan. Not quite melee, but engaged supports anyway. The Rakan taken away. Could just ban Rakan. So Alistair's been taken, so could just go further down the well and ban a Braum, for example, on the side of SKT.
Does the Blitzcrank get banned here as well, Papa Smithy? I mean, what is it going to be from SKT? What do they value? Mata does have a pretty deep champion pool, a lot of options. Can also hop onto the cannon if he would like to.
Blitzcrank would be a different one for him in 2017, but we saw Gorilla play his first career Blitzcrank game just a few weeks ago.
It's the highlight reel as well. Able to get some pretty sweet hooks.
Blitzcrank against Zac is a bait waiting to happen, though, you have to say.
Well, Tom Kench is actually going to be the option here. Mata going to have that one removed as KT look to see what they want to take away. Is it going to be the Jarvan? Because that is still available here for Smeb.
I mean, they can have Jarvan Braum. We know that already, given where the draft is at. So where do they want to go? Blitzcrank, you mentioned, is a possibility and has worked against Bang & Wolf before. Let's see what they decide on. They're throwing a couple of different options. They go with the Morgana, so new tech here that we've seen from other teams as recently as yesterday. Now you want to have a higher damage magic dealer from the mid lane to pop the Black Shield, because in a tank meta, it's very hard to DPS down the 300 hard damage of the Black Shield, and you end up being 5 seconds of CC and vulnerability usually. So they kind of have to go the Rumble if they want to commit to the Lucian that was expected to once again be run into the Galleon.
Yeah, I thought it might be dangerous to pick the Lucian, but like you said, making up for it with that Rumble pickup, put an equalizer over the top of a Black Shield, that thing is going to disappear immediately. KT, now do they head towards the Jarvan? They know that they've got the Bash brothers that can head towards the top side.
Oh, look at Smeb.
Untara.
He's definitely feeling stressed about this decision. 5 seconds left, and they actually changed their identity. This is not the full knockup comp that they usually go for. They're shifting identity with last pick, going for split push with the Camille. Sure, Camille can also be the part of an initiation with the Hextech ultimatum, but it gives them another semblance of style. And it also, to me, is an adjustment to say you can't just have Untara come in, call out the positioning and timings of the previous game, and be able to counter KT, because now it's a very different proposition. You have to respect the 4-1 power and not just full-on teamfight aggression if they get a lead.
And this might also be Smeb calling out Untara at the same time. We know that this guy is more of that role-playing top laner, doesn't have those ultra micro mechanics that Huni does have, and Smeb might be wanting to just style on him and go to town and become that unstoppable split push threat.
But it's so interesting, because is Gragas now going to be extra incentivized to gank for the Camille, or does he flip the playbook, play around other lanes, and see Smeb play a bit safer? I feel like a decision like that could actually affect the whole game, because still KT Rolster will be looking for early supremacy.
Yeah, and giving away the Zac just so that KT can secure the Kalista for Deft. Is she their recipe for victory? There are so many things that we are going to find out in this game number 3. KT Rolster looking to secure their spot at Worlds as the first team to be guaranteed that particular honor. My God, it's all come down to this in the Telecom war. Let's get into game number 3.
Sonic echo, there leaves no room for doubt. All the shines bring it back to what it's
My God.
Welcome to Game 3 Telecom War, Atlas.
My eardrums are about to erupt, and I have a headset on.
Well, we'll start away with some smiles and look at Smab, who had his choice, could have gone for the Jarvan into Rumble again. Different Rumble player. Expected adjustment and strategy from SKT, and this does counter any potential information Untara could bring about what KT were doing in Game 2 by going for a different identity. But we should look bigger picture, Atlas. This is a best of 1 for KT going to Worlds. If they win here, it'll be their first win as this KT roster in a best of 3 or best of 5 over SKT all year. They have lost in 3 games, including straight 3-0 in the spring final at every opportunity. This is their chance to be the only team other than SKT and Rox to win the regular season. And when you're in the gauntlet format in the LCK, that means you're guaranteed top 2. You go straight to the grand final and wait to find out who you will face. The gauntlet is going to be ungodly stacks. Samsung, Longzhu, Afrika, Jin Air, all these teams are still going to be there, and SK Telecom as well. This is their chance to finally allow Score into the grand final, his first regular season victory in LCK history. But it's all down to 1 game, and it could go either way.
It certainly could. We saw what happened in game number 1, and then KT answering right back in game number 2. Now we're here. I have a feeling this is going to be much closer, Papa Smithy. I feel like this isn't going to be the same landslide because both of these teams, the gravity has gotten heavier here in this room.
How could the Telecom war have heated up as much as it has recently? This final week with Longzhu playing against 2nd and 3rd place. With KT, we need just 1 match win, but of course it had to be SK Telecom for them to relieve their spot. The Telecom was usually just solo an important match because it has so much esports
It almost
history.
doesn't need implications.
It's not a League of Legends rivalry. It's bigger than that. It's been around since the start of Korean esports, and yet the gravity here, the final game here, the amount that's on the line, somehow it all adds up to a crescendo that should be this Game 3.
Well, Peanut has got this Zac. Hasn't necessarily been the flavor of champion that we've seen him on. We were discussing it in Champion Select, but Score looking to try and get aggressive. Good vision down, though, from Peanut, who didn't want to be taken advantage of. Okay, Score going to get himself in there. Discovers the Zac, taking the blue buff. It is going to be Peanut grabbing that, but he's going to get knocked out of that elastic slingshot.
Even getting the passive here is a win for KT.
There's the bop. Oh, the flash! And it's going to be instantly answered there from Peanut. So no flashes on either jungler. And you have to feel like that actually suits Peanut because he doesn't necessarily need his as much.
It does and it doesn't, but consider this, Atlas. He uses his gap closer to clear. You max the elastic slingshot first. The repeat gank will mean he can't flash out defensively. So if he's caught farming by any invading wards by KT or invading members, he could actually die even though his passive is up. So there is a cost, even though, like you say, for a straight-on gank, if he's choosing the timing, he still does have elastic slingshot.
Yeah, well, I guess the question is what is going to happen next as Deft and Martyr actually taking a bit of damage from Bang, but Wolf has had to sacrifice a lot of his health bar in this range versus melee matchup. Peanut slinking into the enemy jungle now, or
you would not respect a level 3, no flash Zac to gank, but we're going to see it.
Well, there's the flash in. Everyone getting on top. A good black shield from Martyr at fantastic time, but that's the damage. That's the first blood. The teleport comes in as Pawn looks for the 3-man taunt. He'll get it, but he won't be able to get the kills. The man advantage too much for SKT.
Surprised there. The headbutt pulverized before the E hit meant that the 1-second warning wasn't enough. Teleport completed by Pawn, even though there was no chance of kill pressure, is a mistake from his part. And first blood, SKT.
Looked like it was just impossible to deal with as Score looking up towards the top side once again. Untara does get the harpoons to land, but he flashes forward looking for Smeb. May have bitten off more than he can chew, though. As Smeb comes in, it's going to be Score that grabs the kill. And once again, the top lane onslaught continues.
Yeah, successful gank, but not able to give it over to Smeb. Has to go to Gragas because of the return damage coming from Untaris. They get the lead in top side. As a counterpoint to bot side, your prediction was parity. A bit of parity 5 minutes in.
Yeah. Okay. Double cloth armor picked up by Pawn as he makes his way back towards the mid lane, setting himself up for this matchup against Faker. Once again, it is a magic damage jungler, but maybe not as much damage coming out of the Zac than it would have been had it be the Elise.
In a very extended tank meta game, possible for there to be similar damages from the W, as Def's going to face check Wolf.
Yeah, and that's going to be the elastic slingshot there as well. There is no flash available from Deft as he wants to get himself over the side. Yep, not going to happen. Peanut picks up another one, and SKT doing the same thing bottom side as KT did in top side game 2.
Yeah, Def could have just gone through lane. Went the riskier route. Wasn't expecting there to be 2 members. And for there to be enough damage out of Zac and Alistair earlier. Now Pawn.
Yep, does manage to flash himself out, but that's the headbutt pulverize that Wolf was waiting for. Faker can't follow up, though. Didn't have the relentless pursuit. SKT all over this game number 3, much like KT was game 2.
Wolf has been such a monster. Boots of mobility rush. He's against a Morgana who's going to be more focused on lane. His ability to layer his CC has been a delight. Not able to get the kill, but getting the flash and the teleport already down from Pawn is another micro win for SKT.
Now Def's Kalista has to play from behind for what feels like the first time ever. Papa Smithy, he's just always so good at finding those minute advantages within these lanes. This time, it's the power of the Zac that seems to be too much, despite the early gank, the early flash that hasn't even come off cooldown yet. And he's helped pick up 2 kills for SKT.
I think SKT deserve even more credit than just saying, okay, Zac's an OP pick, because consider that Score probably thought his job was done when he invaded and got the flash out of Zac. Thought he would just safely farm. But credit to Peanut and SKT for still ganking bot lane. When we see these Tristana vs Kalista matchups that are becoming more and more common, with teams banning Elise on red side and leaving Kalista up, I always mention the thing about Tristana lanes is they can be as oppressive as can be if there's early jungle priority and lane priority by ganks coming in earlier, and Zac actually visiting at level 3 surprised KT Rolster, surprised Score, who wasn't in position to counter gank, and actually got SKT the pressure advantage in the Tristana lane that other teams haven't been able to get.
Cute little ward does give up Untara's position, but Score still looking for this one. There's the headbutt. The grand entrance comes in, and it looks like Untara just may not have a choice. He might just fall down. Smeb gets his way into the fight. Pawn's tanking up the turret, and again, Score gets the kill. Oh, did this last one be enough? Nope. Just takes a drink, and it will all be okay. Yeah, ward down there does deny some backs, and that will give Faker some time with this turret in the mid lane.
Feasting on Rumble seems to be KT's solution to answering some of the good things SKT have done. SKT have got a lot of damage onto the bot lane turret. Even though we're seeing advantages in top side, this game, SKT are answering disadvantages in top side with demonstrable advantages in bot side. Stealing away the blue, focusing on the Tristana lane, and getting turret HP down. They're not having Peanut slowly watch Rumble die again and again. They're matching advantage with advantage, and that's why we have this parity.
Cute one there from Marta as he manages to at least stop Peanut from doing anything for a little while. However, nothing, like you said, the tangible's not quite there.
Tangible's probably going to be a first brick turret in bot lane.
Marta does turn himself back up towards the bottom side. Deft clear out that minion wave. Pawn doing quite well at the moment, now with his Bramble Vest completed. Only 6 CS behind despite being what feels like all over the map. That teleport early on towards the bottom side and able to grab more towards the top side as well, helping get the second kill onto Untara.
Peanut just kind of randomly used his ult a moment ago, so doesn't have that available. Cooldown pretty long at this point in the game.
But that is going to be first brick going over to SKT pretty easily on the bottom side.
Tara able to exit lane first. This time Score is actually being focused down. Want to see at least the explosive cast be used, but can't draw that.
Well, Wolf looking for a potential dive. Doesn't have Unbreakable Will. So it's not the optimal dive solution this time.
Pawn wants to play the top side wherever possible. His whole team is there, so it'd just be a mistake to be on bottom side of the lane.
Mata was actually looking for something top. Not going to get there. Untara is going to turn up once again to this top lane, but has Peanut waiting in the wings. There are pings there. I believe that was cheeky
turbo
little
shock
ping.
rocket.
Yeah.
He did let us know.
Okay, Peanut finds his way on top of Smab, who throws down the ultimatum just defensively to try and get out, but I don't think he's going to be able to. Peanut just explodes and picks that one up for himself.
Yeah, panic hook shot. Mechanical mistake from Smab. Meant that he didn't actually have the ability to just flash hook shot away. Didn't even use his summoner in the end. Straight up mistake, surprised by the Zac. AT threw the gauntlet, but the Zac is working out for SK Telecom.
Yep, it's just all falling down here as this mid lane outer turret, if it falls, it's just going to be so much extra pressure that SKT will have. And on top of it, they're able to take down this top outer as well. Teleport going to be used from Smeb. Get himself back up there. You've got Pawn waiting on the bottom side, just trying to get some pressure in this lane to answer what SKT are throwing out, but it feels like 2,000 gold means so much more than just that here at 11 minutes in.
They're able to play their own game, just rotate around Tristana, pressure. Alistair, a melee champ, walks up and wards. You don't know where Zac is because no longer do you have your Gragas keeping tabs on Zac. That means they get the aggressive vision in because you're scared to engage on the Alistair, engage on the people who are looking for the siege, and then turrets roll down. So the SKT's game plan, which looks like it might have to be aborted after their Zac lost flash, is in full effect, and that means that KT need to find a creative way to get tempo back in the game.
See whether that is going to be, because Deft has moved to the mid lane. It's been the 1-3-1 setup for quite some time now for KT. Camille still having that push advantage towards the top side and a 13 CS lead. Feels like now any sort of advantage that you get moving up towards that top side with Peanut with a Cinderhulk and now the Merc Treads as well, Smeb might just be feasted.
I do have a historical counterpoint to this particular scenario to invoke, because when these two teams played earlier in the season, Game 3, it was Untara on Fiora and Smeb on Rumble, and SKT fell behind, then held on to the game, extended it to the late game, and Fiora could split push down turrets. That's her role. KT need to look for that game for inspiration here, because they can do the same thing. If they can lose the minimum in lanes, if Score can get down the vision, Mata can get down the vision, and extend the game further, they have a logical win condition in the entire split push, but that's not normally what KT are known for. It's the dogpile, it's the aggression. This is not that sort of game, especially with KT losing out early.
Yeah. Well, Peanut's just soloing this Mountain Drake. Should be able to do so quite easily, but it does mean that KT have an opportunity to make a play. Just not very many opportunities are presenting themselves at this point.
Vision tells you the story. 3 control wards in the bot side and a very slow solo of Drake for SKT. KT can't hope to fight that, but the Drakes are high value all
all series long
in this Telecom war, so they can't give up too many free Drakes on the bottom side. As KT's vision is around the top lane turret. This was the turret they weren't able to push vision around in Game 1. That's why they looked quite anemic with their Talia turret dives. This time around, they do have the vision, and sure, it hasn't meant extra gold onto Smab like they would have liked, but he's free-farmed, he has 2 assists, and he's working towards his core items that Untara, whatever he puts together, will not be able to answer in the 1v1.
Also, SKT haven't been able to knock down this outer turret in the mid lane that is still incredibly low. Yes, they'll be able to steal away a blue buff, and yes, they have a heck of a lot of vision on this bottom side of the map, but that was afforded to them with that first brick that went down. KT have stabilized relatively effectively.
It's hard to grow leads against a Galio. Galio can just lane wherever and come in with the hero's entrance, so turret diving Morgana Kalista. It's not quite Thresh Kalista, but it's pretty close to that Atlas, and controlling both the top side and bot side of KT's jungle is impossible because KT are not pushovers. They may be behind, but they are still strong enough to be able to collapse. So SKT really just have to whittle away with 1 explosive charge every wave, maybe a single order onto it, and that means the mid lane turret, which if it went down 3 minutes ago, could have meant the heavens opening for SKT. It's been much more of a delay.
Well, there's the culling actually onto Pawn. He takes a fair bit of damage as Faker is just looking to get extra pressure. Score moving his way over, but Faker knows exactly what's going on. He's just going to wander his way out of there.
See, they only get the single order. That's the thing, is this turret has lasted about 4 minutes more than SKT would have liked, or 5 to 6 minion waves. In another context,
Deft was actually looking to try and go aggressive onto Bang there.
Oh, I mean, you say that.
Saw the wolf waiting in the wings on the cow.
He's gone some sick thrift shopping because he has almost nothing in his inventory.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really want to do anything other than farm.
Still, he was poised aggressively.
You said poised weird.
Poised?
Yeah.
Did I?
He's just so weak that honestly he doesn't want to fight at any point. Morgana's backed. Will be a nice purchase when he gets to it, but not even a Bilgewater Cutlass, just the Berserker Greaves. Blue buff refresh for Faker.
Yeah, was able to pick that one up from KT's side of the map as well. Bit of a drive-by. Peanut was able to give him. Peanut now you can see just heading back to the jungle to continue this farm, and he's ahead so far as Faker going to get stunned. There's the hero's entrance as the ultimatum means that he's trapped in here. Good flash gets himself out of the way as he was looking for that 1v1, but the equalizer not going to be enough to take down Smeb, I don't think, as Ontara was looking for it. Slowed down there as there's the explosive cast, and KT turn up with all of their members towards the top side. Winds of War are there, but SKT get under the relative safety of this turret.
KT won't do any more though. It looks like Smeb will just go bot lane. They'll give up mid lane turret. Objective is picked up by SKT, but kill over to the side of KT Rolster.
Not sure whether it was necessarily worth it, because I feel like that gold lead is only extended for SKT with that structural pickup. Also able to be farming multiple lanes while KT sends everyone just to get one kill onto Faker. It's always a good idea to kill that man, but still, feels like it's making sacrifices to get any step forward. It's like 2 steps back, 1 step forward when KT's making a proactive play.
Rift Herald will be started by KT. The only reason to make a topside play like that is to stop a Rift Herald coming down for SKT, because they kind of admitted that they would lose mid lane turret during the course of that dive. So I do follow what you're saying. A single kill with no objectives is not a big thing, but the objective they get is a bit of tempo around the top side, and definitely should not be a Rift Herald being surrendered, as Deft actually has gone for a different build path. He has rushed the Hurricane, so for earlier team fighting, a Ren set is possible, but doesn't have the Blade of the Ruin King for the 1v1, so really does not want to be anywhere near the Tristana, for example, in a 1v1 sense, or even Faker.
Yeah, I feel like that's a Songyun build, isn't it? If I'm remembering correctly. It's the one that actually decided to opt in for that one on his Kalista. Certainly has been a bit of a Kalista master in the past, but I feel like this could be KT looking for those early team fights. Or maybe it's just the famine build. Okay, Score clearing things out in the river, but they're focusing on this top side so much. Teleports for both solo laners on the side of KT. Hero's entrance almost there for Pawn as well.
Not those sort of summoners available for SKT. Ontara's teleport is down, so playing the map is what KT are afforded to do, and SKT focusing on one lane is what they want to do, is mid lane.
Yeah, here's the teleport coming in. Faker using the cleanse very early as Score doesn't have the Moby boots this time, as Pawn just casually wanders into that culling.
A lot of time.
Looking for the hook shot, doing a lot of damage here is Faker, as the time that he's wasting is a big deal. Another kill onto the mid laner of SKT is possibly a problem, because look at the push from SKT on the top side.
And they use that very effectively, and KT, like many teams before them, have been baited into spending a lot of time killing Faker as SKT put together objectives. So they will return to bot side. Map does have Trinity Force and will do a lot of damage to this previously very healthy bot lane turret, but just picking up a kill doesn't really give KT anything of what they want to get their foothold back into the game.
Does provide them with a 2-1 and 2 Smeb though. Trinity Force done, Tiamat also there as Score is playing body block and actually taking a lot of damage. Looking for the stun on Ontara, does find a good flash from Score. Hero's entrance comes in as Wolf looking for a good equalizer as Ontara uses it to save his life as well. Smeb, doesn't find it. The kidnap comes in too early. It's just not enough. There was an interrupt as well, I believe, on the Hero's entrance, so Pawn couldn't even turn up. And SKT get 2 kills in response, and Untara lives.
And I mentioned that game 3 last time out. It was SKT being so much more measured when behind. KT not as far behind as SKT was in that game, but with such a powerful split pusher, you don't need to take the risk. We don't need to see aggressive body slams from Score. While there was a free objective to be picked up bot side, they didn't even get the outer bot lane turret. They would have been free if it was just a distraction coming through from Score, and now SKT control the bottom side of the map again.
Faker gets another blue buff over KT as well, as SKT, they're the ones that are able to get both dragons this game. It was the same story game 1, it was KT's monopoly in game number 2. Let's see this one again.
Score realized early that he'd made a mistake, and nice interrupt on the hero's entrance coming through from the Galio, negated any of his CC and dueling. Very nice kidnap also interrupting the hook shot. It would have meant at least a 1-for-2 trade. Ends up just being a clean 2-0 for SKT.
Yeah, now 2 items picked up for Bang. He's got Static Shiv and the Infinity Edge. The golden duo of heck loads of crit damage from Bang on this Tristana.
Infernal and a Mountain under his belt as well, as SKT with their bot lane control from early in the game. Have been stacking those up. Now the Mountain is the 3rd spawn.
Still, this is a composition that KT can use when it comes to the late game team fights, but is 4,000 gold at 20 minutes enough to secure victory for SKT? Probably not. But are they in a position where, given prior form, given what we expect from SKT almost every time they hit the Rift, is this an opportunity for them to capitalize and move forward like they have in the past? Most certainly. There was a time where if you give SKT a lead like this, there almost feels like there's no way for them to achieve, for the other team to achieve victory. These past few weeks have been odd ones though. There's still question marks. KT are on a 7-match winning streak as Smeb gets equalized on the bottom side of the map. Bang, looking to make his way in. Flash comes out of Smeb. See whether he thinks that he's created enough distance though, as the hookshot does come in. There's the double bounce over. Bang, slowed down, but explosive shots there. Look at this, damage flashes forward. There's the heroic entrance though, and Smeb survives. Pawn waits till exactly the right moment. They get a free flash out of the Tristana.
And to make a play on the top side was KT Rolster with the escape coming through from Pawn, but not able to do so. Lucian able to still come up and push up the wave. They have no advanced vision at all, Atlas. They hadn't have made that aggressive play around the enemy Krugs earlier. They could have put down a wall. They could have actually taken out the bottom outer turret. Because they don't have that sort of information, KT have to be a lot more reserved, and we're seeing more loss minimization from KT than any sort of actual creeping back into the game.
Yeah, not a massive amount of damage done to that inner turret though. Thankfully they have a tanky pawn underneath there. Try and soak poke and also get that wave clear in there, which is somewhat substantial.
Full control ward around Baron. 22 minutes in for now, not substantial, but Peanut can tank it forever with the nature of the bloblets, so we'll have to see some vision wars topside at some point.
Yeah, has his Knight's Vow completed as well, so making Bang even more tanky, more able to survive in these team fights.
Any sort of coverage for Smeb is so important. When the members are in the face of the enemy, they don't need wards, but every time they leave, he's so confident to take the Rumble and the 1v1. That's why you see Untara recalling quite periodically and looking for the teleport play elsewhere. Smeb is a ticking time bomb this game, but so far the fuses haven't been as intricately put together as KT would have liked. Right now they're really trying to wait for him to get online and lose the minimum elsewhere on the map.
Yeah. It does just feel like that we're at panic stations for KT fans. To a point where even trying to take an advantage in a situation that they think is good doesn't lead to another inevitable catastrophe. What it has happened, even things like picks onto Faker, they're getting punished for almost every single time.
Have made the low-value, greedier choice so far, KT, getting those kills onto Faker while bad things were happening around the map. Usually they're the ones making the smart rotations and then Baron or turret trades, but with their lack of advanced vision, that's been pretty impossible here. Is turning on to Faker again.
Yep, there's the Fate's call. They're looking for the binding. Marta following forward. That's going to be another pick onto Faker as Wolf gets the headbutt away. But is he going to get collapsed on? Pawn making his way in. Bang doing a fair bit of damage. but does now have the Goon Squad to protect the little Tristana.
Starting Baron here would be a huge risk, though, for KT. They definitely want to be peeling away. Smeb's in a control ward. Doesn't spot Bang. Wants to turn onto him, if anyone.
Yeah, they know that Bang is towards the bottom side. This Baron has been started off. They have a man advantage, but health advantage is here for SKT as Smeb has been turned on by Peanut. Finds the ultimatum onto the Zac as the binding goes wide. He does have the flash to get himself out of the way. There's the kidnap, though! And that is going to be Smeb just destroyed. Heroic entrance does come in, and Peanut is still alive. Def doing so much damage. Equalizer set up, but not doing what it necessarily could in that position. Peanut, good flash from Def to get him out of the way of the elastic slingshot, but KT, they lose their top laner, and Faker has respawned. It could be SKT's turn to go for the Baron.
Yeah, right at the last second, actually gets the kidnap through as the ultimate had fizzled. Able to actually take out Smeb, and of course isn't tanky at this point. He's gone fully into DPS, so you're right. We're going to see the turn onto this Baron. Pawn wants to teleport back in, but he's got to start now.
Yep, that is going to be the teleport in from Pawn, but it's down so incredibly low. Deft does have the Fate's Call back available. Oh, there's the headbutt! And we're not going to be getting any Baron steals for KT. Pawn over to the side, trying to at least start up a fight that they want, but they will back away. And SKT 5 members with a Baron buff.
Smart plays from Wolf. Guarantees the Baron secure for the side of SK Telecom. Now they have Baron. They already had the insane siege with Lucian and Tristana. And playing your side lanes when you lose Baron is almost impossible. We'll see the replay. Peanut did not know that Smeb was there, but there was always the outside chance. A lot of time spent here. We already knew from Kuro's attempts to get out with Galio, there's no way to escape. But the ultimate is gone, able to get him over, and it doesn't matter if the damage reduction comes in that late. No cleanup for KT Rolster.
Just not enough tankiness like you mentioned during the play. Papa Smithy Smeb instantly exploded. And if this was the KT double tank composition, you could see that potentially working, because then you've got the Bash brothers in there in Pawn and Smeb, and they're able to take down their opponents. But if SKT can finish off these kills so fast, and especially now with the accelerated items that they have, it's a very, very different story. It's like the playbook with this composition that KT are so used to is just not working with what SKT have been able to do. Like, now with a split pusher instead of that team fighting tank, just feels like a step too far away from what has been working for KT.
I mean, split pushing doesn't matter when you have no outer turrets down at 26 minutes and the enemy has Baron. It's an absolute disaster for KT Rolster. They do lose this game, which is looking likely at this point. Longzhu versus Samsung is for first place, Atlas, and KT lose out on that guaranteed seed at Worlds. Oh, let's continue to roll. First of the game taken down by Smeb. But SKT happy to group up. Lucian playing the mid lane. That's the members around bot side. Stana at a massive point already, 27 minutes in.
Yeah, very, very close to picking up that rapid fire cannon as well. Hasn't been back to a base for a very long time. They're looking to break open the base first of KT, as they do at least clear out a lot of these minions. It'll take only another couple of waves, or just one, for SKT to be able to siege this one through. Once again, we're spoilt with dragons. Exactly the same dragons, actually, for SKT here as they had in game number 1. Maybe not in the same order. And there it is. QSS and Rapid Fire Cannon completed here for Bang. It's got full item slots. Sell the Doran Shield. Get a control ward.
As always, the percentage way to go. Really impressed with SKT's play this game. They were the ones that had to make the adaptation. Zac left open would have been a surprise to them. KT Rolster felt that given Peanut's reputation and even the recent play where he's over-indexed on Elise at every opportunity, been very focused about dueling rather than just being a teamfight tank, goes against years of Peanut being incentivized in a Warrior Enchant or Runic Echo meta and disincentivized in a Cinderhawk meta. They give up the Zac, the power pick for the longest time, and he's able to make it work. I'm so impressed with SKT's decision, even after losing the flash on Peanut, to still visit bot lane, to still make the early game. They're clearly surprised. KT Rolster got the Tristana ahead, and from there, their play has been on point. Their play has been the percentage play. And KT have been too aggressive with Smeb, who has a 50 CS lead, but just can't set up for a split push without losing multiple turrets.
And once again, actually, Faker choosing a skin. Is Lucian looking different game number 3 as opposed to game number 2?
Cassiopeia skin in game 1.
Exactly. Who is this guy?
That's what the interviewers need to ask.
the big important questions. Is Deft and Bang doing battle? Oh. My God, very close to the 1v1.
One more crit.
Yeah, and the heal, if that wasn't used, he was dead. Peanut setting himself up. Wolf not going to be snared. Not going to see any commitment to that fight.
It's hard mode to set up defenses for sieges with the Zac coming in. With Rumble bot lane, they don't have the ability to break the black shield, so at least Kalista can afford to play forward and wave clear with Hurricane compared to usually unable to do so, given all of Zac's engage.
It looks like Deft is going to head towards his last Whisper item of choice, probably Mortal Reminder against the likes of a Zac.
Smeb's playing a mini-game where he never groups with his team and then has to walk with no vision around, hoping he's not face-checking an engage tank. Some full Metal Gear stuff going on there. Has got those two outer turrets.
Okay, makes it out. As Untara and Peanut are unable to find the Camille.
Pawn is tanking. Deft has some of his core items. He's actually going Infinity Edge, ostensibly, with his build pass. Could just be an adjustment in the build from there, but it is looking like that Atlas with the BF sword and the pickaxe. No longer does pickaxe build into the last Whisper.
Just wants to do as much damage as possible. Oh yes, of course. Made that mistake earlier. I apologize, everyone. Right, Bang. Tanking this one up. No more fortification. That means another couple of auto attacks will mean the end of this inhibitor turret. And Faker doing a lot of work to the mid lane as well. I mean, despite not having any minions, able to get a few extra chunks in there. KT need to commit to something. It's either defend this inhibitor on the bottom side of the map or the mid lane, because they're going to lose one. Smeb able to take down a few turrets around this map. Bottom lane outer, and now the inner on the top side of the map as well as that outer turret. So KT at least have answers and keep themselves away from that 10,000 gold lead. But saying keeping them away from a 10,000 gold lead when it's still 8 is still bad news for this team.
Again, the Galio is important because Faker's first thought, of course, Rush of Blood to the head, wants to take down the Camille in the side lane, but because Galio could leave the base, afraid of the 1v2 and it backs away, KT are choosing to extend the game. If they make a teleport play and lose out on an Atlas, the game is over. So they're making the controlled play of trying to extend the game. Now, if they had done this around bot lane outer turret, when they overextended and gave up a 2 for 0, game might have been different. As okay, knock-up party.
Yep, that's going to be a lot of shielding coming in onto Faker, though he's actually dancing around. Smeb taking too much damage. The culling comes in after the perfect pinpoint flash from Faker. Keeps himself alive, and now SKT. Oh, he's dodging out of the way of score as well. Peanut finds his way forward. Deft can't get on top of him. Everyone wants to kill the mid laner, but that's going to be that, and the kills are coming through left, right, and center. Faker exits the party. The rest of the team will pick up the ace against KT Rolster.
KT Rolster's regular season hopes are starting to dwindle. The flame is extinguishing. Faker lives through all of that, even with the flashes, and Score going hard at the paint to take him down. They're going to push through mid lane. They may even try to end the game here, Atlas.
Yeah, Untara's already teleported towards the bottom side of the map where they do have super creeps crashing on this Nexus. Faker already back up to full health with the lifesteal that he has with that Blade of the Ruined King. They're going to ignore the mid lane inhibitor. There are Nexus turrets to kill Papa Smithy, and SKT have silenced the haters 2-1 against KT Rolster and remain undefeated in Telecom Wars for 2017.
SK Telecom take down KT. It's suddenly a story as old as time. Have done it 5 times already in the summer season and in the spring season, including that spring final. They got their man. They killed Faker multiple times, but around that Atlas, the game was decided. The play around Camille was intermittently good, but often too greedy. This is the reason why they go for the engage comps like Game 2, but they made the adjustment. They saw Untara come in, and it seemed clear that KT didn't want to repeat the strategy that worked for them in Game 2. They decided to make an adjustment. It's so different to play around a Camille who needs gank pressure and also needs you to be a lot more defensive in your decision-making late game while she stacks on advantages. Instead, they kind of rolled the dice. They went all in. You can't just play as if you have a Jarvan. And the end result is that SKT make the right macro calls, return to form, do take down a premier team in KT Rolster, and deny KT's hopes of going to Worlds today. They may still go, but at the end of the day, Atlas, with where everything goes, we're going to see the replay. Faker managed to live for so long, already had a lot of items, the disengage twice. Scorer decides he needs to kill Faker, but isn't able to do that. Gonna get a group interview with all of SK Telecom after this, but Faker kept living. The barrel comes up short with the outplay from Faker. This means that Longzhu Samsung on Sunday decides first spot. KT Rolster cannot finish first.
Yep, unfortunately you saw that Faker was able to get out of everything that is going to be the ace at the end of this game, and it was a highlight reel from the very beginning, but it felt like a highlight reel in the draft in game number 3. SK Telecom back in form, their decision making good. Everything about what they were putting together in the early game as well in that series was good. I mean, Faker even sacrificing himself worked out so many times. He wasted so much of KT's time.
And now KT have the unenviable position of this being their last match. They are done for summer season until they play in the off season. And Atlas, we remember how cold they've come off Telecom Wars before. Their next match is going to be an elimination best of 5. They have no more stage games before then, and they're going to need to shake off another loss to SK Telecom.
SKT have set themselves up, though, in this gauntlet that they're going to need to run. They were secured in that 4th place. We're going to see a lot of SKT, I feel, Papa Smithy, unless they're pipped at the post by a team that has recently come off 2-0 victories. It's so crazy to see them have to get revenge on everyone on their way to the final if they're going to make it. There's any gauntlet that you want to be watching in LCK history, it's going to be this one, because you get SKT every single time, and they have to prove themselves.
But the drama hasn't even ended for this week. I agree, even where it stands right now, the gauntlet is going to be insane. But there's still going to be so many important matches. Our second one on paper, a small one, Rox versus BBQ. That's for relegations for BBQ. If Rox can win that series, we have Longzhu versus Samsung for first spot. And like you say, SKT needing to run past KT Rolster again at some point during that gauntlet run if they are going to make the grand final.
Just insane, but we are going to see that damage graph. Untara wasn't the game 2 Rumble. He did get ganked early, but he was able to sit under the turret afterwards and even top the damage on the Rumble.
Decision making around that was so much better though.
Yeah.
SKT looked at game 2 and understood that they needed to find advantages elsewhere rather than trying to deal with a Rumble who was still going to put together items. So Untara was able to just play defensively. They weren't able to stack up kills like they would have loved to in the fashion of game 2. MVP for our 3rd and final game is going to be Peanut. I think it's well deserved. Invaded early, but didn't allow that to interrupt his jungle. First MVP of the season at precisely the perfect time for SKT fans, on the Zac, on the Cinderhawk. This is not his meta, and yet he could pull out a performance like this, did not die the entire time, and I can't even remember his passive being procced.
No, I don't think it was, Papa Smithy. Didn't die the whole time, and that means it's highly likely that it wasn't taken down, and that first gank actually looked repugnant, even through a black shield. Steph just couldn't find his way back to lane. He was treated like Huni, and honestly, in the end, could only really do what Huni was able to do game 2.
Surprise Smep here. Went for the hook shot with no hope of hitting it. And those successful ganks were so important for SKT because KT were never able to start the snowball. This was the beginning of the end for me, where they could have just taken a free outer bot lane turret. They had to return to, 15 minutes later to take it down. They were behind 3-0 in turrets, and that lead only grew, and Peanut got his first visitation on the Zac and looked very good.
So good. Proving that Zac is still a champion that you just flat out cannot leave available. But it was how he was playing it as well that was just so expertly done. Tara here as well, just backing this up with the perfect equalizer. And this play from Faker. I mean, yes, it was Peanut that picked up the MVP, and deservedly, but this was the moment for me.
Quintessential this game, though. What does everyone do? Do they peel? No, they only focus Faker. They dived on him. He was 0-2 early. But they went too hard on Faker too many times. And when you go in one by one trying to kill God, people get caught up in the mix. And KT Rolster was the one that died in all the crossfire.
Yeah, you have to remember that there are 4 other members of this team. And you got Bang just jumping around this fight, able to finish off that ace. Just there was so much CC. We are going to have that team interview, like you mentioned, Papa Smithy, So we are going to throw it over to Joel for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your